WordPress is one of my favorite platforms to work on, but did you know that it is a huge platform? It accounts for 62.9% of all websites with a CMS and 36.1% of all websites, period. Yet it sometimes gets a bad reputation as being insecure or hard to use. The truth is that it doesn't take a tech wizard to build a secure site with WordPress, and once you do, you can save thousands of dollars on services like ClickFunnels, Teachable, or Squarespace. Most importantly, you're more likely to have an end result that matches the features and workflow that you actually want, not just what the software as a service provider offers. In this WordPress Made Easy course, you'll learn how to install and set up WordPress. I'll tell you about which hosting providers I recommend for a business website, and you'll understand the anatomy of WordPress without being a coder. This will make WordPress seem much easier than it does on the surface. I'll also show you all of the plugins and settings that I use for all of the client sites that I build. And in the event of a catastrophe, I'll show you how to make sure your site is secured and backed up. Now, this course is completely free. All that I ask in return is that you consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell for this channel. Occasionally, I might mention a hosting platform or a premium plugin that I like and actually use. And when I do, I'll use a referral link to help support the channel. You can find the links down in the description as we go through the course. Now, don't worry, we won't get overly geeky. I won't be showing you any raw code or asking you to do anything that you need a computer science degree to understand. So if you're ready to kickstart your website creation business or just get over your fear of WordPress, this is the series for you. I'll see you in the next video. Hi, I'm Dave from Profitable Tools, where I talk about software to help you grow your business. Welcome back to this series on WordPress basics. So why is WordPress so popular? Well, WordPress is open source, which means the code is available to anyone for free. You can download it and install it on a properly equipped web server without paying a dime. You can even customize it if you know how to do that sort of thing. But most importantly, I believe that WordPress is so popular because it is extensible. What does that mean? It means you can add features to it. Think of the core WordPress platform like a free app on the App Store. It's really free and you can use it as much as you want without any hidden charges. But if you want to add extra features, there's the equivalent to in-app purchases that are available for almost anything that you can imagine a website can do. Now, more on this later, but first I want to help you understand how to get your first WordPress installation going. WordPress is just software that runs on a computer, and instead of running on Windows or Mac OS, it runs on a web server. A web server is essentially a computer that's running a special operating system with software designed to display websites. Most importantly, it's always on and it's connected to the internet so that people can access your website any time of day. So what literally everyone does who has a website is rent access to a server. This is hosting. You probably have heard of it. This will be our only cost to get started with WordPress. Later, we can decide if we want to spend more money on add-ons, what I was talking about earlier, in the form of plugins. That's what they're called in the WordPress land. Now, because this is Profitable Tools, where we talk about business software, I'm going to assume that you're building a site or a marketing campaign for your business. So we'll skip the shared hosting providers here and recommend business class hosting only. That means it might be a little bit more expensive. Now, you have limitless options here, but choosing a host is one of the most important parts of having a reliable and secure website, because if you use an under-spec'd or shared server, that means your website will probably load slowly at some point in time, and you'll be more vulnerable to security breaches or 404 errors and your website won't load at all. Now, luckily, I've already done the research here and I've tried out countless number of hosts. When you're looking to build a business website, it comes down to 3 recommendations for me. Flywheel offers quality managed WordPress hosting at just $13 a month. The downside is that you do need to prepay for an entire year upfront to lock into this price, but they have a custom web stack that is designed to deliver WordPress sites quickly and provide high quality tech support if you need it. Kinsta is the premium option that I'm recommending, with a single site costing $30 a month. But what you're really paying for is amazing support and a highly customized server to give you a top shelf WordPress experience. But what I recommend for most people is Cloudways. Cloudways will rent you a server by the hour. So if you decide that you want to delete your server completely, you are not locked into any long-term contracts and you're not out any money. And very important, after the first year, they don't jack up the prices like some budget hosts like to do. For a starter server at Cloudways, you'll pay roughly 1 penny per hour. Now, if you're trying to do the mental math on that, it's roughly $10 a month. Cloudways also provides a one-click installation of WordPress and a slick graphical user interface for managing your web server. Although once you get everything set up, I doubt that you'll even have to log in very often or at all. The downsides of going with Cloudways is that their support isn't as high quality as Kinsta and probably not even as good as Flywheel. Now, I'll be continuing this series inside of Cloudways, so if you want to follow along with exactly what I'm doing, you'll want to choose that host. But honestly, you should be able to follow along inside of just about any host. To be clear, Cloudways did not sponsor this video, and although I would receive a commission if you were to sign up with the link in the description, as a bonus, I did make sure to get you a coupon code. Use Dave Swift for a free $10 voucher. Now, let's spin up a server with Cloudways and get started with WordPress. I've already created my account, so I'll just choose WordPress as my application. I'll name my app and my server, and then I'll choose my cloud platform of choice. I'm partial to Vultr here, but really any of them will do. I'll select the lowest server size to get started. Now, remember that you can always scale up your server if you need more resources, but scaling down isn't so easy, so I recommend always starting conservatively. For server location, I'm going to choose something near me, but ideally you just want to choose a server near the people who are likely to visit your site. Now, the server will spin up, give it a few minutes, and you'll be ready to log into your WordPress installation. Now that our server is going, we can check out our WordPress site straight away. Just click on your application from the menu and click on Application URL. Now, this site is pretty ugly, and our site name is some crazy string of characters. To get a custom URL with your own business name, you're going to need a domain. Now, hopefully you already have one, but if not, go ahead and head over to Namecheap and grab one. The link will be in the description. To set up your WordPress site to work with your new domain name, it's a 3-step process. First, choose Domain Management from under the Cloudways menu and enter your domain name. Next, we're going to need your server's IP address. Now, if you don't know what an IP address is, you can think of it like a GPS coordinate for your website. What is a GPS coordinate? Well, they're usually long and unwieldy numbers, right? So we like to shorten them to something easier to remember, like a street name. Well, we do the same thing with IP addresses and URLs. They're really just maps to the website. In this step, we're going to tell your registrar what GPS coordinates or IP address to send your website to. Now, you can find your server IP address. It's really easy. Just click on the server icon in the Cloudways menu, and then double click on the public IP address under master credentials. That'll actually copy the IP address to your clipboard. Then you're going to head over to your domain name server. In my case, it's Namecheap, and then enter the DNS management area. Here you need to create an A record and enter your IP address as the value. For host, you can enter an @ symbol. Additionally, you could make a second A record here with www as the host value, and then you just want to use the same IP address for both entries. This will allow www.yourdomain traffic. After your DNS records have been created, it might take a few minutes or even a few hours for the new address to propagate around the world. You can see if everyone has your new IP address by visiting the website whatsmydns.net. Just enter your website and make sure A record is selected. Then hit the button. You'll be able to see where your site has propagated. This is great for troubleshooting early on or when it feels like things just aren't working properly. After your site is propagated, you're going to want to add an SSL certificate. This provides that padlock you see in the browser, but more importantly, it means that the data being sent to and from the server is encrypted so that visitors to your site aren't vulnerable to someone trying to intercept the data. To set up your SSL certificate from inside of Cloudways, just head over to SSL certificate and then enter in your email address followed by your domain name. Then hit install certificate. Now it's very important that you made sure that your domain has propagated before you go ahead and do this, or the installation of the certificate will fail. Now, when given the option, make sure that you choose to force HTTPS so that all connections coming into your site are secure. All right, finally, we've purchased hosting, set up our domain name, and then taken the first steps to secure our website by installing an SSL certificate. We are ready to learn the basics of WordPress. So go back to the application screen and under Access Detail, look for the Admin Panel section. Double-click on the password field and then click on the Admin Panel URL. This takes us to the WordPress login screen. Now let's log in. Just enter your email address, the same one that you used to sign up with Cloudways, and then move over to the password field. We've already copied the password from the Cloudways Admin Panel, so just press Control or Command V in order to paste it in. Hit login, and then we are in the admin section of WordPress. This is where we're going to set up the entire website, so congratulations. So that's going to do it for this video. In the next section, I'll give you an overview of WordPress, and I'll make sure that it makes sense even if you have tried WordPress before and you think that it's too hard for you to learn. I'll see you in the next video. If you're coming to WordPress from another platform, or if you've never used a website builder at all, you might have some preconceived notions about what to expect. Now, those preconceptions are almost certain to lead you to frustration. So before we begin, let me recommend that you watch this video with an open mind. Are you open-minded? All right, great. Let's begin. A WordPress page on the front end, meaning the view that visitors see your website, looks like this. You have a header. This usually contains your site name or logo, and then the primary site navigation. The header displays on every page of your site by default. Now, there are ways to disable the header, and you can even have a custom header for certain pages, but for now, just understand that the header is on every page. After the header, we have what's called the body content. This will be your blog post, your sales page, your photo gallery, or whatever you want to show visitors to your website. Finally, we have the footer. Much like the header, this shows up on every page by default. It usually includes links to things like the privacy policy, the terms and conditions, and probably a copyright disclaimer. Now, often we'll also include a secondary navigation menu or even links to social media profiles. So how do we set up or modify this stuff? How do we actually build a site with WordPress? Let's talk about body content. That's the stuff that lives between the header and the footer. In WordPress, there are two ways to add content to your site, through pages and post. So what's the difference? Well, it's pretty minimal actually, but it is very important to understand. Pages are for content that is considered evergreen, or that means that they don't expire. Pages don't have publish dates associated with them like posts do. So an example of a page would be the About page or the Contact Us page. Posts, on the other hand, have two unique qualities. They are dated, and they will show up on a special page called a post page that displays all of your latest posts. Additionally, pages usually show up in the navigation bar, but posts do not. You'll just have to click on a link to the post page, which acts as the navigation to your recent posts. Over the next few videos, I'll explain in detail about pages and posts, how to set them up, tweak them so they look exactly like you want. And if you hang with me through all of that, I'll even show you how to modify the header and footer so you can get the business website that you're looking for. That's going to do it for this lesson. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any videos in this series or in the regular review series where I go through and I review actually a lot of WordPress plugins or other productivity software that can help you grow a profitable business. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Welcome back to WordPress Made Easy. I'm your host, Dave Swift, and in the last video, we talked about the difference between pages and posts. Now, the main thing to remember is that pages don't show up in the nav bar by default, and they don't have a date associated with them. An example would be the About or the Contact page. Let's create a new page. From the sidebar, I can choose Page and then Add New. I can add a page title and then enter my headlines, text, images, or even embed videos inside of the editor. To make the page visible on the website, I'll click Publish. Then I'm going to see a link to my page on the site. So here is what the page looks like. You can see that the content is displayed between the header and the footer like we talked about in the last video. Now, this is probably not what you had in mind when you thought about building an attractive website for your business, am I right? Well, don't worry, we're just learning the fundamentals right now. So why does our page look like this? Why does the font display the way it displays? Why is the text size the way it is? How do you change the padding, the margins, or the borders? Well, the content on a WordPress page is typically controlled by what's called a theme. And you already have a WordPress theme installed. You might not have known that. Every WordPress site needs a theme, and out of the box, it includes a default one. So themes have varying degrees of customization available, and typically with free themes, we have less options than in premium themes or ones that you have to pay for. Now, more on themes to come and how to customize them in a future video. Another popular way to style a page aside from a theme is to use something called a page builder, which is an add-on, a plugin that you can install into WordPress. Page builders override the theme style and allow you to have a true what you see is what you get type experience. Some popular page builders include Divi, Thrive Architect, Beaver Builder, and Elementor. In this series, we'll be looking at Elementor as it has a very capable free version and it has over 4 million installs, so it's one of the most popular page builders of all time, probably the most popular. It's also my personal page builder of choice when I'm developing websites for clients. So in this video, you learned how to create a new page and you also learned why the page looks the way it does. We haven't styled it yet, but we know that the theme is at fault here. So in future videos, we'll look at how to get complete control over the pages. That's all for this lesson. In the next video, I'm going to tell you all about posts. So make sure you hit subscribe and I'll see you in the next video. Welcome back to WordPress Made Easy. In the previous video, I explained how pages work inside of WordPress. Now in this video, we're going to look at posts. Posts are very similar to pages, except they typically aren't displayed on the website's navigation. Instead, you'll find posts via a post page, a collection of all of the recent posts. In fact, sometimes even on the homepage, you'll see a section that says recent posts. And maybe once you're inside of an article, you might see a related posts area on a sidebar or down below the article that you're reading. Now, posts are typically dated, which has relevance to your readers, but it also is important to Google because Google likes to display fresh information to readers whenever it's appropriate. So keep your posts up to date with the most recent and relevant info so that you can rank higher in search engine results. Now, creating a new post is just as easy as creating a page. From the sidebar, choose Posts, Add New. I can add a post title and then enter my article copy inside of the editor. To make the post visible on your website, just click Publish. Then you'll see the link to view the post just as you did with the pages. So here is what the post looks like. Just like on our page from the previous video, the content is displayed between the header and the footer, and the post takes on the style that the theme has set up. In a later video, I'll show you how to completely customize your post template. So each time you make a new post inside of WordPress, it'll come out on brand without having to hire a graphic designer for every single new blog post or article that you write. But for now, I want to point out that this link for this page is pretty ugly. Now, don't worry, we'll fix that in the next video. So by now, you should have a good understanding of the subtle but important differences between pages and posts inside of WordPress. And you should be able to create your own, even if they don't look very attractive at this point. All right, so in the next video, we're going to go fix this ugly link. I'll see you there. Welcome back to WordPress Made Easy. In this video, we're talking about settings in WordPress. Now, when you get a new WordPress site installed, the first thing that you're going to want to do before adding pages or posts is to adjust a few basic settings. So let's get acquainted right away. From the sidebar, choose Settings and then select General. On this screen, you can change the name of your site as well as give it a tagline that'll show up in your tab if you have any room left over after your site name. Now, I'll typically leave everything else here at default, with the one exception being setting the time zone. This way, any posts that you release will have the correct time on them. And it's also important for things like emails that go out. All right, next let's head over to Settings and then choose Reading. Now, after you've added a few pages to your site, you might want to hop back over here, but on this screen, you can choose what page loads when you go to your root URL. Basically, you can set up your home page to be a specific page on your WordPress website. You can choose between your latest posts or a static page. Additionally, if you don't want to show up on Google or Bing, you can check the box that says discourage search engines from indexing this site. Sometimes I'll do this for sites that are still in development so that they're not prematurely revealed by a sneaky Google search. Next, let's talk about permalinks, or the structure that your site is using when it's naming each individual page on your URLs. Now, this might seem a little bit nerdy, but it's actually really helpful to search engines if your pages have easy to understand names. And trust me, there really is only one good choice when it comes to the link structure inside of WordPress. And for some strange reason, it's not the default choice. So let's go ahead and change that. Choose Settings from the left sidebar and then select Permalinks. You're going to want the option that says Post Name. Click the radio button next to it and then scroll down to the bottom of the page and click Save Changes. Next, let's update one of the URLs or the slug of a post that we created in a previous video. Click on Post and then choose Edit next to our post. Now, if you click on the post title, a smaller box is going to appear that says Permalink. And here we can edit the permalink or the slug, it's kind of a common name for it, to be whatever we like. It's best to keep it short and descriptive, and then you just want to remove words like the, and, or Well, that's it. There's not many settings that you need to do when you're getting going with a WordPress website, but these are some of the essential ones to know about. I'll see you in the next video where we talk about themes inside of WordPress. Stay tuned. Welcome back to WordPress Made Easy. I'm Dave, I'm your instructor, and in this video, we are talking about themes inside of WordPress. Now, there are tens of thousands of WordPress themes available, and every site needs one. So how do you choose one? Well, some are free, some have a one-time cost, and others ask for an annual fee to be able to provide you with things like updates and support. Now, themes often try to position themselves as providing beautiful layouts or additional features like sliders, title animations, or one-click demo imports of entire websites. But what does and what should a WordPress theme actually do? How do you pick a good one? At a bare minimum, a WordPress theme needs to load the basic style of your site. Which fonts you use, what size are they, what colors are they, what are the rest of the colors on your website? Now you can edit these styles using the WordPress customizer. This isn't a page builder, it's more like a preferences page with a live preview. The layout and usability, as well as the options available to you inside of the customizer, depend heavily on the choices that the theme developer made when they were creating the theme. Now, themes will also provide templates for things like blog posts and pages. We've seen a little bit of that in previous videos. If you didn't watch the rest of this course, make sure you go back to the pages and posts videos so you can see what I'm talking about. But it's now easier than ever to create your own custom template, so it's not as important to choose a theme based on those styles, and we'll look at how to create those custom templates a little bit later on in this course. One thing that is worthy of consideration is if there are any third-party software that you want to use, you can often find a WordPress theme that complements it. For example, I use the LearnDash plugin on many of the client sites we build that include online courses. Little plug, check out clientamp.com if you want help with your site. Now, I really enjoy using the Astra theme on sites that use LearnDash because Astra has built-in styles that work really well with the pages that LearnDash creates. Astra is, in fact, a really versatile and lightweight theme that's been really popular in WordPress for years now, and I highly recommend checking it out even if you don't know what LearnDash is or you don't plan to use it. Now, of course, they have a paid version of Astra, but there's a totally free version as well, and it's really easy to use, very feature-rich, and let's get it installed right now so you understand how this whole process works. Head over to your WordPress admin dashboard and under Appearance, click Themes. Then you're going to go to Add New, type in Astra in the search box, and then just hit Install and wait a few seconds and hit Activate. Now, I should note that you can have several WordPress themes installed on your site, but only one can be active at a time. So you can't pick and choose between different features and layouts and combine them into one super theme. If you want further customization of your site, I highly recommend checking out the Pro version of Astra, and of course, I'll include a referral link to that down below in the description. Now, because of the way people design WordPress websites these days, it's now favorable to have a lean theme that really doesn't have too many bells and whistles, but makes simple customizations very easy. So my advice to you is to find a theme that works with some of the major plugins you want to use. Maybe there's a specific online course platform or a page builder you want to use. Find a theme that works well with it. Now, features like sliders and animated titles are really best left to dedicated plugins or even a page builder. Plugins are individual modules that you can add to your site. We'll be looking at them in more depth later on. The benefit of choosing an item separately is that then you're not locked into a particular developer's theme or feature set. And if you decide you want to change themes later on down the road, your whole site won't get wrecked because you left one theme and they locked you in. They call this content lock, and it happens all the time. We'll look more at page builders in the next video, and I can tell you a little bit more about that content lock. So by now, you should understand pages, posts, and themes inside of WordPress. To the average person, you're practically already an expert. In the next video, we'll look at my favorite page builder, Elementor. I'll see you then. Welcome back to WordPress Made Easy. I'm Dave Swift, and in this video, I'm going to introduce you to the world of page builders for WordPress. Now, page builders have been a part of WordPress for many, many years, but only recently have they become a true what you see is what you get type experience where you have inline editing and the ability to add complex features with drag and drop blocks. Now, there are old school page builders like WP Bakery or Site Origins, and they were revolutionary at the time, but now they're a little bit cumbersome in comparison to a modern page builder. In this video, I'll be talking about Elementor, an extremely popular WordPress page builder that has over 4 million active installations. But this video isn't intended to be a guide on how to use Elementor specifically. If you'd like a full in-depth Elementor course, post in the comments down below and let me know. In this video, I'm going to show you the fundamentals of page builders in general, so you'll know what to expect when you use one for the first time. Now, I'll be using Elementor to do so, but just don't expect to come away an expert after one short video. All right, so let's go ahead and get Elementor installed. Now I'm logged into the back end of my WordPress website. I'm gonna head down to Plugins, Add New. Over here in the search bar, I'll go ahead and enter Elementor. Here it is, the first result. You can see it has over 4 million active installations. Installing it's very easy and totally free. I'm just gonna hit install now, and then activate. There's a short welcome video. You can watch this if you like. I'm going to close it out. And now I can tell that Elementor is installed because over on the sidebar, there is the Elementor icon and the words Elementor. Now I can create a new page or post just like I did before by either going over to posts or pages and then choose add new. Let's go ahead and add a new page. Now this looks identical to what we saw before, except there's a new button. It says edit with Elementor. If I click this, it opens up the post or the page inside of the Elementor editor. Now I can go ahead and design the page exactly as I want, and I'll actually see a real-time rendering of what it looks like. I can lay out text like headlines. By clicking on the tabs at the top, I can style them. So let's go ahead and change the text color here from the default blue to maybe more of a red color. Then I can change the typography. There is all of the Google fonts loaded in by default, and I can change the size of my headline right here as well. Now let's add some text. I'll drag this text block right over underneath my headline, and you can see some lorem ipsum is added here. I'm just gonna go ahead and copy and paste this a few times. There, now I've got some placeholder text. Let's go ahead and style this. In the middle tab, I'll click Style, and I can choose the alignment, left, center, or right aligned, or of course, justified. For now, I'll leave it on left. I can change the text color. Let's make this a very dark black. And just like with the headlines, I can change the typography. Let's go ahead and make this Montserrat. And how about we make it 18 points. It's easy to add images as well. Let's click on the image widget over here, and I'll just drop it underneath. And there is a placeholder for a photo. I can see the images I've already uploaded to my site, or I can drag and drop a new one. There's our image. It's a little bit big for my taste, so let's go ahead and resize it. Inside of Elementor, I can change the image size. There, that's a medium 300 by 300 image. I can also change how wide it's displaying so that I can get a more precise control over the image. I will mention that using this slider to set the width isn't as optimal as just changing it to a smaller file size like we saw on the previous screen, because the file's still gonna load, it's just gonna be displayed smaller. So it'll actually still slow down your website just a little bit. We can do things like add borders. Let's add a 5-pixel border here, and we'll make it purple in color. Gives me flashbacks to GeoCities. And we can add some border radius here as well. Now, if I were to go ahead and publish this, what you're gonna see is that the theme settings are gonna be totally overridden. Let's go ahead and have a look. So here we go. We have a full width piece of content where I have my headline, my text, and my image displayed just like we saw inside of the editor. Now, this is very different than the homepage we have set up, where our theme is taking over and choosing most of the style. The fonts, the size of the fonts, and the width of the page is all decided by the theme. When we use a page builder, the page builder overrides the theme, as long as you have a theme that supports page builders. That is the one that I recommended. The free version of Astra does this perfectly. Let me show you a little bit more inside of Elementor. I'm going to hit edit with Elementor up here. It's going to relaunch our editor again. Now we've seen a few of these widgets over here on the side. Some of the other ones include buttons. Let's go ahead and drop a button in here. And we get the same sort of styling features that we saw inside of the headlines and the text, where I can go to style. I can change the button background color, the button text. You get the idea here. I'm not going to go into a full Elementor tutorial, but I want to point out that if we go back over to our widgets, these are listed as basic widgets, and these are all included for free. You're going to get these 10 widgets. If we scroll down a little bit more, you're going to see a lot more widgets with this Pro heading next to it. Now, these also have a little padlock next to them because they're locked up. In order to use these, you're going to need to have an Elementor Pro license. Here I am on the Elementor website. You can see that a Pro license is really affordable. It's just $49 a year for a single site. If you have more than one site, there is bulk options available. You can get up to 1,000 sites for $200 a year. So it's a really great deal. You do get 30 days to try it out, so they'll refund you if you don't like it after those 30 days. Now, I want to talk just briefly about some of the features that are included if you go up to the Pro version. So let me get that installed. All right, I'm back and I have installed Elementor Pro in the background. Let's go ahead and open up the same page again with Elementor. All right, we're back, and now you can see that all of these Pro elements no longer have the padlock alongside of them. There's some really nice features inside of Elementor Pro, and I thought I would just point out a few of my favorites so you could decide if this is a good fit for you. Elementor Pro makes it really easy to add in marketing features like a pricing table. So what I'm going to do here is add in multiple columns first with this inner section, and I'll actually go ahead and right click here and choose add new column. Now I've got a 3-column layout, and let's go back to my widgets, and I'm going to add in the pricing table widget under Pro. Let's go ahead and drag in one here, and then we can actually just copy this, paste it in, and just like that, we've got a really nice looking pricing table where you could offer different plans for your products or your services. Let me go ahead and get rid of this button here so it looks a little bit better, and you know what, we can get rid of that image too. One great way to get your customers to take action is, of course, scarcity or having a sale that ends. Well, there is a countdown timer widget built into Elementor Pro. Adding that is very easy. I can just drag and drop it wherever I want it to go. Now, obviously, I probably want to style this a little bit. Let's go ahead and go into the style section here and change the background color. Now, the last Pro widget I want to show you is the ability to add forms. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and add another inner section right here, and maybe I'll move this text up over here. So we have a nice 2-column layout. And let's go back to my widgets, and here is the form widget, which I can add in over here. Now, this kind of looks like a landing page, right, where I can collect someone's name, their email address. This has a field for a message, but if I didn't want to have that, I can simply go over to the content and change the types of fields that I've got displayed. You can see they're all listed right here. I can remove one, I can add a new item, and I can change the type of the field. If I wanted to have, say, a website or a checkbox or a date, I can choose between any of the options that Elementor makes available. After someone submits the form, I can either get an email to let me know about it, or it can connect directly up to something like MailChimp, ActiveCampaign, or ConvertKit. Of course, Elementor is completely mobile responsive. Right now we're looking at the desktop view, but if I wanted to check it out inside of tablet or phone view, I could definitely do that. Down here at the bottom, there's an icon. Right now it looks like a computer screen, but we can go ahead and switch to tablet. And if I just close this little arrow right here, I'll get a preview without any distractions of what the page is going to look like on tablet. Now maybe this headline is a little bit big, and maybe I want it centered on tablet. It makes more sense on tablet than it does on desktop. Now I'm not saying this is a good design. I know it's hideous looking, but I can have it center aligned on tablet, and then if I switch back to desktop, it'll stay left aligned. Let's go ahead and resize a little bit on tablet mode. And once again, it's going to retain that information on desktop mode. I can apply unique styling to any element that we've been working with. So if you wanted to hide or show a particular element on mobile or desktop, you can do that. If you want to resize something only on mobile and leave it larger on desktop, you can do that as well. Let's go ahead and switch over to mobile phone view. And once again, I can resize this headline so maybe it all fits on one line. I'll go under style, typography, then I can type in a value here. Let's make it 22. Text is a little bit big, so we'll do the same thing here. Typography, let's change this to be 14. Now these numbers are definitely huge, so let's click on that and we'll go over to style. If I click down here where it says content, I can choose the digit typography. Let's go ahead and resize this to be 22 as well. We'll go ahead and change the container width back up to 100 so we have a little bit of space between the items. Let's just add a little bit of padding in. All right, so you get the point. We can really get particular with the look of the website, and you don't have to know any code to make things look the way you want. Now, if you have some design experience, you're going to be really happy to see that you don't need to learn CSS and HTML to get a good looking website. But what if you don't have any design experience? Well, Elementor actually has those of us that are design challenged covered as well. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to go ahead and create another new page here under Pages. I'll choose Add New. Let's go ahead and open this up with Elementor. And this time, rather than just dragging and dropping my widgets in willy-nilly, I'm going to go ahead and click on this little folder icon over here. Now here we get a set of beautiful templates that Elementor provides. Now, if you only have the free version, you're not going to be able to access all of them. You can see that quite a few have this pro marking, but if you spend the $49 per year, you will be able to access all of these really stylish looking templates. I'm going to go ahead and choose this landing page for an ebook here. I'll just hit insert and it's going to be added to my website. Here we go. The whole landing page has been added. All of the images are included. You can see we've got some nice parallax going on here with a background image that stays as I scroll. We've got some nice testimonials. And you know what? The best part is that you can completely customize this. It's what you see is what you get, and it's inline editing. So if I wanted to change the price of this book, I can change it to $9.99. I can go up to the top and let's change the names of these testimonials. It will be Tom Smith and Martha Johnson. I can click right here and change the person's photo that's in the testimonial. I can very easily change any element of the design here, from colors to typography to even, of course, the book here at the top. I would just click, hit choose image, and I can select a different book that I might already have produced for my own ebook. So templates inside of Elementor are really great if you're not a graphic designer. It gives a good launching off point where you can customize things so that they fit your brand and your business. But you know what? That isn't even my favorite part of Elementor. It really truly is the theme builder qualities, where I can actually go ahead and build a new header or footer for the entire website. And that's what the next video is going to be about. So if you're interested in learning more about Elementor and how it works with WordPress, stay tuned for the next video. I'll see you there. Welcome back to WordPress Made Easy. In this video, we're going to be talking about how to customize that header and footer. Now, I'm going to show you two different ways you can do it here, either using the options your theme provides or using something like a page builder. So for the theme, I'm using the Astra theme, and then I'm going to show you how to customize the header and footer using the Elementor Pro theme builder. So let's get right into it. Here is the site we've already got. If you haven't been following along with this course, we built this out from the beginning. Now, I know it doesn't look like much, but if you follow along, you'll understand exactly what's going on with the rest of this video. So in the header here, we have the site title, that's client amp, and then we have some menu items, some basic pages that we've created throughout the course. Then we've got the body content down here, and as I scroll down, I can see the footer, which right now just has the copyright notice, as well as the powered by Astra WordPress theme notification. Now, I know a lot of people get irritated by that powered by whatever theme marking that you have. So in this video, I'll definitely show you how to get rid of that. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the back end of WordPress by logging into our admin dashboard. I'll see you when you're logged in. Before we get into customizing the header and the footer, I've just got a little bit of housekeeping to do. In that, I want to set up my menu. And in order to do that, I want to go ahead and clean up my page labels a little bit here. So I'm going to go over to Pages, and I'm just going to click right on that. We've got a few pages that we've built throughout this course. Let's go ahead and rename them so they make a little bit more sense. I'll call this the About Us page, and I'll give it a slug of About Us. Let's go down here to this one. I'll just do the quick edit option here, and I'll call this the Contact page, and we'll give it a slug of Contact. And let's go ahead and change this into published mode. Now, I'm only doing this so we have some pages to work with when we're customizing the theme. These pages aren't even relevant to the labels that I'm giving them. Let's see, we've got the My First page right now. That's the front page. So let's go ahead and label that Home. Then I've got a privacy policy page as well as a sample page. I'm going to go ahead and make this sample page my post page. So let me do a quick edit here, and I'll call this blog, and we'll give it the slug blog as well. And just real quick, I'm going to open it up and just delete everything inside of it. There is a little keyboard shortcut you can learn if you want to delete blocks of text from the WordPress editor, or really any of these blocks, that's what they call them. You can just press Control-Option-Z, and that will remove the block of text a lot faster than manually going through and then choosing remove block. All right, great. I've got a blank blog page, and you'll see why I wanted to do that in a moment. All right, now I'm looking at the front end again. Let's go ahead and set up this menu. You can see it already looks a lot better here because I went ahead and changed the names, but home's over here at the end. Let's go ahead and configure this before we even worry about the header and the footer. I'm gonna go back into the dashboard here and then go under Appearance and choose Menus. Now, because this is a brand new website, I don't have any menus created. You can actually make several groupings of menus. So if you want to have maybe some links on the header and some different links on the footer, you could go ahead and create a separate menu for a header and a footer. Let's go ahead and create what I'm going to call a primary menu. And I'll hit create menu here. In this primary menu, I definitely want to show the contact page and the about us page. And let's add the blog too. We'll just hit add to menu here. Now these items are going to show up on that menu and in the order that I set them here. So I can rearrange by dragging and dropping. Now let's say I wanted to have the contact page be a sub menu item under about us. So I can simply move it over a little bit and you can see it kind of stuck right there. Well, that's going to be a sub menu item. I'll show you what that looks like. Let's save the menu and we'll go back here to the site. Now it hasn't been updated yet, and that's because I haven't actually told the theme that I want to use the menu that I just created. Now that might be a little bit confusing, but let me show you what I mean. Now I'm going to go into the customizer. I can reach it one of two ways. I can click right up here, or if you're in the back end of WordPress in the dashboard in the min, you can go to Appearance and then go down to Customize. It'll take you to the exact same place. Now what you're going to want to do is find the menus option, which is for me right down here. I'll go ahead and click on this, and now my primary menu, I'm going to click on that. Now I'm going to want to make sure I have this primary menu set to display under menu locations in the primary spot. All right, I'm going to click on that, and there we go. Now we have the menu that we created, and you can see that contact us is, or the contact page is a sub page of the about us page. Now, if I wanted to change this text, because I don't really like that it says contact page, I'd rather just say contact, I can click this little disclosure triangle and go ahead and type in just contact right here. I could call it contact us if I like, but this will work. All right, this is looking much better, but you know what? I really don't want that to be a submenu item. So let me bring it back out here, and now I've got that all arranged nicely. Now, you might be noticing that I'm doing the same kind of menu construction. In fact, I can even add items here or even create a brand new menu right from the customizer, but I wanted to show you how it was traditionally done inside of the WordPress backend. It's only more recently that you've been able to do it in a visual approach like this with a live preview. All right, let's go ahead and hit publish here. Now, another thing I don't like here is that I've got this site title in just plain text. I'd much rather have my company logo display here. So in the Astro theme, I can actually click on this little pencil and it's going to open up the right section of the customizer. Otherwise, you might have to drill down through some menus to find it. Now I'm going to go ahead and just choose a logo right here. I've actually already uploaded mine. So if you don't have yours, just drag and drop it right inside of this area and it'll upload. Let's go ahead and select it. Now the next option is to crop the logo. I've already cropped it appropriately. There's no extra white space here, so I'll go ahead and skip the cropping. And there we go. My logo is going to display it right now. Looking pretty good. If yours shows up too big or too small, you can use this logo width slider to go ahead and set it to the right size. I think I'm going to do right around 170. I think that looks pretty good. Now, I do notice a big problem here, and that is that I've got both the logo as well as the site title displaying. Well, that's easy to take care of. I'm going to go down under site title here and just turn that off. All right, that's looking much better. Now, it's certainly not a fancy header menu, nothing that looks overly modern or sophisticated, but it's a lot better than at the start of the video. But what if we wanted something that was a lot more modern and sophisticated with lots of different color choices and maybe not just boring menu items? What could we do to achieve that? Well, that is when a page builder is really going to come into play. So let me go ahead and save my progress here by hitting publish. And now I'm going to press the X button to return to the WordPress WordPress admin page here. Now, I've already got Elementor Pro installed. If you're not familiar with Elementor Pro, I highly recommend going back to the previous lesson in this course where I introduce page builders, walk you through how Elementor works, because if you're not familiar or you don't have it set up, none of this is going to make any sense. So remember, you do need the Pro version to have these features. And Elementor is not the only page builder that can do what I'm about to show you. Most of the big ones, Thrive Architect, Divi, they now have theme building capabilities built in where you can go ahead and modify the header and the footer. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do here. So under Elementor, I'm going to go down to templates and then choose the theme builder option. Let's go ahead and choose add new up here. And it's asking me what type of template I'd like to choose. I'm going to go ahead and choose header. And let's go ahead and call this primary header. I'll like create template. And now, just like we saw when we were building pages, Elementor is going to let us choose between some pre-built or template headers. Now, you don't have to choose one of these if you already have a design in mind. If you're a designer yourself and you want to simply use the what you see is what you get aspects of building a header, you can definitely do that by just hitting the X button right here. But if you're like me and you want to have a good place to start from, you can go ahead and choose from any of these templates. I can preview one by just hovering over it and clicking the magnifying glass. All right, that one looks interesting. Let's go ahead and see another one. All right, you know what? I think I like the previous one better because it actually has several layers of navigation that we can talk about. So I'm going to go ahead and insert this. All right, so here's what I was talking about. This one has this top bar up here that has a phone number, an email address, hours of operation, and then over to the right, we have some social share icons. Down below, we have now it kind of looks like it's just one section here because we're not seeing in the context of a website, but we have the logo as well as our menu down here. And notice how it was able to pull in the site logo that we set up in the customizer as well as our primary menu. It was smart enough to go, oh, okay, here's a menu set up. Let's use that inside of our header. But I noticed my logo is looking a little bit small in this layout. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this. Now I'll choose style up at the top. And I can actually set the width right here. And sure enough, it was set to 120. I think I liked it right around 170. Maybe for this style logo, even a little bit bigger. All right, and down here, I've got my primary menu. And notice that there's a hover color, and that looks pretty good, except it's the wrong color. It doesn't match with my brand. So let's go ahead and modify that. I'll just click on the menu itself, and then we'll go over to style. And now I'm going to choose hover right here, and that's going to unveil this pointer color selector. Or I can go ahead and click on this and then just choose a new color that matches a little bit better. If you know the hex code, you can paste it in right here. I'm not really sure off the top of my head, so I'm going to go ahead and grab it here. I've got this nice Chrome extension installed that comes in handy. It's called Colorzilla. It's totally free. You can just go ahead and click on this and then choose pick color from page. And then I'll just hover over the logo right here until it lights up right there. And I've got the correct color, and I'll just go ahead and paste that into this selector. And now when I hover over, I'm going to have the right brand color show up, and that looks much better. Now this logo has a little bit of a gradient in it, and there's a lighter blue right here. So I'm going to grab my Colorzilla tool again here and choose pick color from page, and I'm going to get this lighter color. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and change this background color up at the top. So I'm going to click on this section right here, and I'll go to style. And then here is the background color. I can just paste in that color. And there we go. That's looking pretty good. Now, of course, I might want to display some different information at the top. So I can just click up here and that'll load up this icon list. And I can click in here and enter in the correct information for my business. If I want to change the hours or maybe add a new menu item altogether, I could certainly do that. I'd probably want to click over here and maybe turn on whatever social icons are important to me, like Google Plus is not, so I can just remove that with a single click. And you know what? I don't really use Instagram all that much either, so I'm going to remove that one as well. But Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube are a pretty good fit for my business. So let's go ahead and hit publish here. Now it's asking me where I want to display this header. So what I need to do is actually set a condition. So I'll choose add condition, and I'm going to show this on the entire site. Now I don't have to show it on the entire site. I could pick out particular pages or even posts if I'd like to, but for now, I'm just going to leave it as entire site. All right, let's go ahead and hit save and close here. Oh, there's one more thing I'm going to mention, and this is something Elementor doesn't do by default that I don't really like, especially in its templates. I'm going to click on this section header right here, right? So this is for all of this content right here. It's kind of a box that encloses all of this. Now I'm actually going to add the HTML tag here for a header. And what this is going to do is allow Google or who's ever crawling your website to understand the context of the site a little bit better. All right, now that that's all set up, I can go ahead and hit update one more time. And let's actually go out of here and exit to the dashboard. and I'm going to load up the site. Now here we go. I've got my brand new header that's certainly looking a lot better. Now, I did mention to you that I would do two things. I'm going to show you why I deleted all the content from the blog, and let's do that. I'm going to click right here where it says blog. And now nothing's showing up here yet, and I have to fix that. And then down below, I promised you I'd show you how to remove the powered by, and so that just involves adding a custom footer. So let me go ahead and take care of both of those problems. First thing, the blog page. Let's go back to the WordPress dashboard, and then under settings, I'm going to choose reading. Now, remember this page, we visited it a little earlier in the course. Under the post page, I don't have anything selected yet. I'm going to go ahead and choose blog right here, and I'll go ahead and hit save changes. Now let's view the site one more time, and let me click on blog now. All right, there we go. Now all of the content has been removed, but my posts are showing up. Now obviously I just have some placeholder text, but you can definitely understand that your posts that are going to be a lot more interesting and probably have images attached to them are going to show up here. It's probably a good time I should mention that all posts can have what's called a featured image. I left this out earlier in the course, but if we go under posts, and let's just go ahead and edit my first post here. Over on the right-hand sidebar, there's this section that says featured image. Now, right now I don't have one set. So let's go ahead and choose a featured image. I'm going to grab that same Tim Ferriss photo just to keep it consistent here, and I'll hit update. Now, if I were to go back to that blog page, let's go to the back end here. Now I'm going to see that image show up. Now, albeit this layout is not great, and we can customize that with Elementor, and I'll show you that in a moment. But at least I've got the content in here, and it's loaded up so you know what a featured image is. Let's talk about this footer information here, particularly the Powered by Astra section. To remove that, we're going to go back into the customizer, and then I can just go down to the bottom and click right on that little pencil, and it's going to show me the text that is displaying in the footer. Now, this text is going to display on every single page on your website, so you probably only want to have very important information here that makes sense across all of the pages on your website. It might be a little confusing if you're looking at, say, your homepage, and you think, well, that'll just show up on my homepage. But it doesn't. By default, the footer displays on every page of your site. So I can just remove this powered by tag altogether. Probably want to get rid of that line and then go ahead and hit publish. Now, if I wanted to, I could continue customizing the footer inside of the customizer. I could add another menu and have it show up in the footer. Maybe it has my privacy policy and my terms and conditions in it. But you know what? We can also do this inside of Elementor. So let's go ahead and do that right now. All right, we'll go back to templates underneath Elementor, go back to our theme builder right here, and hit add new again. I'm going to choose footer as the type of template I want to create, and I'll call this the footer. We'll hit create template. There are several different templates I can choose from. Once again, you can just close this out if you want to build one from scratch, but you know what? This one looks pretty good. It's got a search box. Let's preview it here before we, I like that a lot. Let's go ahead and hit insert. All right, great. That is definitely looking a lot better. But you know what? I noticed that this image is not really standing out on the gray background. So let me go ahead and swap this out for a white version. I'm just going to click on this. Right now it's set to display the site logo, but I don't really want it to display the site logo. So I'm going to do is just right click here on this little pencil icon and delete this altogether. Now, this section is still right here, this column, where I can easily add a different image. So I'm just going to drag and drop the image widget over here, and it's going to put a placeholder image in. And let me go ahead and upload a white version of our logo. That is all done. Okay, that looks a lot better. And now we've got some contrast up here with the blue and the white version. Now I probably also want to customize these colors to match up with my menu items here, but I won't bore you with that in this video because we have one more thing to do here to really show off the functionality of the theme builder inside of Elementor. I'm going to go ahead and just add the display condition here for the entire site. Let's go ahead and hit save and close. And let's go ahead and preview our site. And here we go. We've got our header built with Elementor, then our body content right here. And then down at the bottom, we have our footer also built with Elementor. Now this looks a lot nicer when we go to one of these pages we actually created with Elementor. Obviously the colors don't match up, but you can start to see that this looks like a real website now. It's not just, some kind of junky version of a blog. All right, so what about this blog page? Right now, I've got this sidebar over here. It's got kind of, a different background color. It's just not really looking super modern. So what we can do is we can actually use the theme builder qualities of Elementor to build out a custom blog page as well. So once again, we're going to go back into the dashboard under templates, and I'm going to go back to the theme builder right here. And then actually what we're going to do this time is build what's called an archive page. So I'm going to go right over here to archive and hit add new archive. Now, what are we doing? We're building a blog archive. We'll hit create template, and there's all of these really cool looking layouts for posts. So we've got something like this that has the featured image at the top, and then we have the title with a little excerpt down below. We've got this one that looks maybe a little bit more professional with the featured image, the title again, and then the excerpt. Let's go ahead and add this one. All right, here we go. So I've only got the 2 blog posts, and this one doesn't have a featured image yet, so I probably want to add one so it looks a little bit better. But you can see I've got a nice little call to action down here at the bottom. Can maybe encourage some people to do business with you. And then I've, of course, got my footer and header inside of Elementor. Now, one thing you might have noticed is as I hover over either the header or the footer, it actually gives me the option to just open up the editor for the header and the footer right away. So I think that's a really cool, nice new addition inside of Elementor. There's no reason to go out back to the dashboard, back and forth. If you're working on a page and you notice that it's just not really working with your header or footer, you can take care of it right then and there. All right, for now, I think that's looking pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and publish. Now it's asking me again where I want to display this. Let's go ahead and add a condition. I'm going to go ahead and have this show up on all archives. We'll hit save and close. And now if I go to view this page right here, I can open this up, and you know what? This is going to be that blog page, right? So we can see right here, I've got the blog page loaded up and my blog posts are down here. I've actually got a nice little category tag here. I haven't done a lot of work on this site, but you're getting the idea that we can make something that looks pretty good with not a whole heck of a lot of work here. All right, so hopefully in this video, you've learned that you essentially have 2 ways to customize your header and your footer. You can either use the options that your theme gives you in the customizer and go ahead and edit it there, or you can use a page builder like Elementor Pro that has theme building capabilities where you can literally just style the header and the footer directly inside the page builder. Now there's 2 very powerful but very different options here. Doing inside of the theme certainly has its own set of benefits, but using a page builder is really, really powerful and you can make things look exactly like you want. So which one are you going to choose? Let me know in the comments down below. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you in the next video. Welcome back to WordPress Made Easy. I'm Dave Swift, and in this video, we're going to be talking about 3 main things. First, we're going to talk about sidebars in WordPress. What are they? How do you customize them? Then we're going to talk about widgets, which are actually things that live inside of sidebars. We're going to show you how to set those up. And then finally, we're going to talk about page layout, or how to get that full width look if you're not using a page builder. So let's get right into it. Here's the homepage that I've been working on. Now you can see I've got a sidebar here, right? So it's just got some kind of boring content over here, just some stock photos thrown in, but there is a sidebar and it's not all that attractive right now. We've got archives, categories, meta. These are not very user-friendly names. It doesn't really entice me to want to use this page. So what is going on here? How can we clean this up? Well, to get started, let's go over to the page editor. I'm going to go up here and hit edit page. So first of all, if I just wanted to remove the sidebar altogether, I've got a couple options for how I can do that. If I only want the sidebar removed from this one page, I can do so right here in the page editor. I'll go over here where it says sidebar and just choose no sidebar. I can also move it to the left or the right side, whatever I feel is right for this page. But you'll notice that the default setting is the customizer setting. So this is going to be your global default. Whenever you create a new page, it's going to default to whatever you have set in the customizer. So let me show you how to edit that in the customizer. We'll go up over here to appearance and choose customize. Now I am again using the Astra theme here. It's just the free version. But if I go down here to where it says sidebar, I'm going to have those similar options that I just saw in the single page editor, except this is going to apply across the entire site. Now for this site, I don't want to have a sidebar at all. So I'm just going to turn that off. All right, there we go. I can see my page update in real time. The sidebar has disappeared, but what I noticed is that the content kind of stayed exactly where it was. And that is because the page layout is still set to kind of anticipate there being a sidebar, even if there isn't one. So what I'd really like to do is get kind of a full width look and not have these borders here between the content. Now to do that, I can again do this on 2 different levels. I can do it on a individual page level or inside of the customizer. Let me show you, since we're already in the customizer, let me show you here. So I'm going to go over to global and then container. And then instead of having a box layout, I will do a full width contained layout. All right, here we go. You can see that those lines on the side have disappeared. The content is now 1. My video actually looks much larger because the container has gotten much bigger. Let me just give you an example. Let's go back to the box content. There we go. That's what we had. So we have these lines over here on the side. Everything just is a little bit more squeezed together. Now I'm actually going to leave this as is, and I'm going to go back here and I'm going to turn back on the right-hand sidebar. Let's go ahead and publish this and jump back into WordPress. All right, we're outside of the customizer. Here is that content layout. Now, once again, this is on a page-by-page basis. So if you wanted to override the customizer settings for a particular page, you could do so right here. It's the same settings we just saw inside of the customizer, but it would only apply to this one page, not the rest of the website. Also, when you're in the page editor, you don't get the live preview of what's happening. Everything kind of looks the same. So what you have to do is go ahead and hit update, and you can either hit the preview button, or what I'd like to do is just preview it live on the site, if I don't have a lot of traffic going to the site. All right, there we go. My sidebar is back because I turned that on, but the content is now full width. I don't have that boxed look. All right, now how can we make that sidebar look a little better, assuming we actually want to have a sidebar on this page? So let's go back into the dashboard, and let me show you how to edit this. We're going to go under Appearance and choose Widgets. And now, depending on the theme you have, you might have slightly different settings over here, but in Astra, I have a main sidebar, and right now it's set to show the archives, the categories, and the metadata. Well, first of all, I really don't like the term meta in terms of user experience. Most people just don't know what that means. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that column right here. Instead of calling this categories, maybe I'll write something like Browse Posts by Topic. I've got some options here from Astra to display this as dropdowns, show post counts, or hierarchy. I'm just going to leave it as is. Under archives, I'm actually going to go ahead and get rid of the archives page, and let's go ahead and add recent posts over here. We'll go ahead and give that a title of latest posts. And let's just display 3 posts here. All right, so what we've been doing is looking at these different widgets that are available, and then I've just been moving them over to different areas of the website. So right here is the main sidebar. I've also got some header widget space available. There's plenty of different options for the footer. So if I wanted to move different modules over, maybe I wanted to add some text, I could certainly do that. Let's go ahead and put this up at the top. I gave it a title of Welcome to my site, and I could enter some placeholder text in here. All right, then let's go ahead and save this. Now, just like when we created the menus, you can actually set all of these widgets up inside of the customizer now. This is a new feature. Again, we can go ahead and enter live preview mode right here. It's actually just the customizer that's going to open up, and I can see the text that I've added is right here, the latest posts, as well as browse posts by topic that I created over here. So the sidebar is definitely looking a lot more inviting at this point, but that's the general idea. Now I could further customize the look and feel of this with either the settings inside of the customizer itself, or I could use some custom CSS if I knew how to do that to really give this a very polished look. Of course, if you already saw our video on how to customize your theme by making your own archive page, you'll know that if you're using Elementor, you could open up your archive page and just add a sidebar right in there. It will dynamically populate. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So I'm in Elementor and I'm in my templates here. I'm gonna go to the theme builder. Now we've already added a header and a footer and a blog archive page that showed all of our posts. Now I could do this on a single post level as well. So let me go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and hit add new. Now the type of template I'm going to create is a single post. We'll choose single, and we'll go ahead and just choose post for the post type. I'm going to call this single blog post. And once again, I've got a lot of different templates I can choose from. This one here has a nice sidebar. Let's go ahead and preview this. All right, so we've got some recent posts, some social media, and a video tutorial over here. Let's go ahead and insert this. Now you'll notice that unlike the other templates we've entered, this one doesn't actually look like the template that was in the preview, and that's because it's pulling in dynamic information. So dynamic meaning it's just changing based on the context that it's in. So right now it's grabbing the data or the content that is in the posts that I've already published and then inputting them into the template. All right, so let me show you what I mean. Up here, if I click on this, rather than it saying my first post, it actually is just displaying the title of the WordPress post. So if I were to go back and change that original post I made in lesson 2 or 3 of this course, that would update here automatically. And more so, this template will adapt to every single post that I create going forward. So I really only have to make this one post look really nice. And then as I make another post inside of the WordPress editor, just entering in plain text, it will take on this appearance. Now here is my sidebar. I actually don't have to deal with widgets at all. I've got a search up here at the top. I've got a little text, static text. This is not dynamic. It's been just typed in. So about me, that's going to display on every single page. We've got some social sharing icons down here. And then we've got recent posts. Now, if I click on the recent posts, it's actually just displaying the last few posts. It says the last 3 posts. Now, I don't have very many on this site, but if I had more, they would show up right over here. And I don't really have to worry about updating this. As a new post is published, it will automatically show recent posts on every single other post. I hope that's making sense, and you can start to get a feeling for how truly powerful and cool this really is. The actual post content is right here, right? So this is not an image I drag and dropped. It's the featured image of the article. And then down here, we've actually got the post content itself. At the bottom, we have the author info followed by some Facebook comments. So you can comment right from your Facebook account. There's a nice call to action here, which I could link up to my email autoresponder, and we're good to go. Let's go ahead and publish this. I'll have this show up on all post pages for now. Great, let's go ahead and view this page. All right, this is looking pretty good. Let me give you some context here. So if I'm on the home page, I have this, kind of ugly page that we just threw together in the WordPress editor. But then I can go over to the blog page, which will show me that archive page we created just a few lessons ago. This is going to show me all of my most recent posts. And then if I enter into a post, let's go ahead and click on this one just to give you some perspective. It's going to take on the look of that previous post. So really, all I've done is I've created an archive page template, a post template, a single post template, a header and a footer, and all of the new content that I designed for the website is going to be generated automatically because of those templates in Elementor. All right, things are starting to get a little bit complex around here. I hope you are hanging with me. If you have any questions, let me know down below. I'll try to answer each and every one of you, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Welcome back to WordPress Made Easy. I am Dave Swift, your instructor, and in this video, we're talking about plugins, namely some of my favorite plugins, the ones that I start every single site with. Now, we've already been talking a lot about Astra Pro, that's the theme, and the Pro add-on pack. We've mentioned Elementor and Elementor Pro. Those are definitely my go-tos for every single site we start, unless we're building a community site, in which we might use a different theme. But after that, there are still some standbys that I install on every single site, and let's get into it. I want to show you my favorite ones right now. All right, so here we are in the plugins section of WordPress. Now, on this site we've been working on, I only have 3 plugins installed. I have Breeze, Elementor, and Elementor Pro. Now, Breeze actually comes with your Cloudways account. So if you go through the process from the beginning of this course, you will probably have a very similar layout. They might add in a couple extra plugins here. You can remove those, and I'll give you good replacements for them throughout this video. Breeze is actually a pretty good caching plugin, and I know that sounds complex, but basically it's just going to make your pages load a little bit faster. You don't really need to do anything if you're using Cloudways. You're going to be, in pretty good shape just with their default settings. So let's go ahead and move on to the next topic, which is removing spam. So from plugins, we're going to go up to Add New, and I'm going to go ahead and search for Anti-Spam Bee. Here is the plugin. It's got a mighty little bee over here. I'm going to go ahead and install this. What this is going to do for you don't really have to do anything, is it's going to look for spammy looking comments and then flag them for you so that they don't get published live. You'll have to review them to see if they're worth posting. Let's go back to the WordPress dashboard here, and you'll see the anti-spam bee widget down here. I'm actually going to move this up to the top so we can get a better look at it. You'll see this anti-spam widget, and it'll show up to show you your most recent comments, and it'll also ask you to approve comments, see which ones are that it's flagged as spam. It's a really nice little user interface. While we're on this dashboard, let me just give you a little tour of how you can clean this up. So if there's any widgets you don't want to see, like these big notifications, you can obviously just dismiss. But if I go up to this screen options section, I can actually turn some stuff off. So one thing that WordPress likes to do is advertise themselves. I can turn off this WordPress events and news. Quick draft, I don't really use a quick draft, so I don't find myself ever really just quickly posting on my blog. I'm going to go ahead and remove that as well. The Elementor overview is actually pretty nice because it gives you shortcuts to your most recently edited pages, maybe some Elementor news that is relevant. And then at a glance, I can kind of keep an eye on what's going on the site overall. So these widgets are good. I'm going to leave those on. All right, let's get back to our plugin discussion. We'll go to plugins, add new again. This time, let's talk about SEO. Now, if you're not familiar with what SEO is. It stands for Search Engine Optimization. And basically what we're trying to do with search engine optimization is make it very clear for search engines what the contents of your page is. Now, this is an entirely different course. It's a very long subject to learn how to do search engine optimization properly, but there are a few really essential plugins for WordPress that can give you a great start. And the one I'm going to recommend in this video is totally free. It's SEO Press. And right here, I'm going to go ahead and install this. Now, there is a premium version of this, and it's actually not very much money. I think it's around $40 per year. Definitely worthwhile if you're looking to highly optimize your blog. I recommend adding in the pro version as well, but let me show you what the free one can do. All right, now that I've got SEO Press installed, every time I'm editing a page or a post, I'm going to see a few extra fields. Let's go ahead and open up my first post here, and we'll scroll down past the content. And now I have this SEO section right here. Now, what this is going to do is give me the opportunity to replace the metadata for the post. Now, what is metadata? Well, it's basically the information that Google's going to see, and it's going to display to people who are searching for relevant topics that your blog might rank for. So it gives you this little preview over here. So here it says my first post, client amp. Well, that's not actually the best looking. So let me see if I can make that look a little bit better. All right, so I just went ahead and changed the title here. Now, I don't advise doing anything that's misleading, but I changed this to be my top 5 steps to creating a WordPress site. And then I added in the company name here, client amp. So I would want to make sure that this is actually relevant and it's included inside of the content here. I wanted to give you an idea of what this actually is doing. By changing this title, it doesn't change the article. The article is still called My First Post, but Google's going to see it as having this topic. So typically these line up, but you might want to tweak them so that they look good on the search engine results pages. Down here, we have what's called the meta description, and this is the content that shows up underneath the title. So you might want to tweak this as well so that it gives, you're limited in the number of characters you can display here. You might want to tweak the wording so that it's very clear to people who are searching what your page is about. SEO Press will also do a content analysis, so you can enter in a keyword right here, and it will tell you what to improve in your content to have the best chance of ranking for that keyword. Now, that's just a couple features of SEO Press, but I think you're getting the idea of how powerful it is and how important it is to have some type of SEO plugin on your WordPress website. If you want to have a full tutorial of setting up a website using SEO Press, definitely leave me a comment down below and let me know if that's something you'd be interested in. If I get enough feedback, I'll put it on the calendar. All right, next let's talk about emails. This is a topic that is very confusing to people because they just assume that a website is able to send out emails, but it's really not. WordPress on its own doesn't have any email sending capability. We need to add that in either at the server level or inside of WordPress itself. Now, if you're using Cloudways, they actually have an add-on that you can choose, but most people are probably not going to want to use that, especially if you're setting up a site for a client. So let me show you how most people tend to set up emails inside of WordPress. We're going to go back over to plugins and hit add new. This time, let's search for SMTP. Now, you're going to get quite a few options here. And if you're ever in a predicament where you're trying to choose between several of the similar type plugins, it's a really good idea to just look at the reviews and how many active sites are using the plugin. It seems like common sense, but I do want to point it out. It's kind of like buying something on Amazon. You want to see, what are people saying about it? How many other people have bought it? So this one right here has over 1 million active installations. This one has 100,000 active installations, and this one has 400,000 active installations. So these are all very, very popular plugins. Having over 100,000 is a pretty high number for a WordPress plugin. There's just so many plugins that it's hard to get that big of an install base. The one that I've used most frequently in the past is WP Mail SMTP. You can see it's got the most users by far. So let's go ahead and install this. Now, what this is going to do and why you actually need a plugin like this is anytime someone forgets their password and they need to have the website send out a reminder, the website's got to have the ability to hit someone's inbox. And so they have to be signed up through your email provider in order to be able to deliver that message. Go ahead and hit activate here. It's also important if you're collecting leads and you want to be able to take in forms and send those out to your clients or maybe receive them yourself, your website needs to be able to send emails. All right, so here I am in the WP Mail SMTP settings right over here on the sidebar. And you'll notice that this is the free version. There is a premium version, and that's only necessary in very few circumstances. And let me show you when you would actually need to upgrade to Pro. Let's go down here to the different mailers that are available. Now, you'll look at this list and see if anything looks familiar to you. I know a lot of people use Google or Gmail. Gmail, and you can use your Gmail account to send out messages on your website's behalf. There's actually a fairly good document right down here for setting that up. But if you wanted to use something else, like Amazon SES is a great email platform for sending out thousands of emails. Google, on the other hand, will limit you. You can only send about 500 emails a day from your account. So if you have a very busy website, you could probably start out when you're small with something like Google. But as your website grows and you're sending more and more emails, you probably need to move to a dedicated mailing provider, something like Amazon SES. I use Mailgun on a lot of sites. I've had great success with that. Now, there are other providers as well. Microsoft is here. SES is here, but those are part of the pro version of the plugin. So if you're getting started and you're using, say, Gmail or another SMTP provider, I can click here and just enter in the SMTP host information here. I'd be able to set this plugin up and it would work great inside of most circumstances until you get very, very popular and you have to switch to one of those transactional email services. If you are using Gmail, I do recommend clicking right here and then going through the Gmail documentation on how to configure this. It's not super easy, but definitely block off a half hour or so to go through and get all of the application permissions set up properly. All right, next let's talk about how you can install your Facebook pixel or your Google tracking code on your website. This is a very common situation. You need to inject a little bit of code, maybe you have a chat widget, something like that you want to get to show up on your website. Well, to do this with WordPress, I really feel like the best way to do it is with a plugin. You can, of course, edit some files and get really complex with it, but I like having everything in a nice, reliable plugin. And the one I'm going to actually recommend if you're using the Astra theme is called Astra Hooks. All right, now if we go ahead and install Astra Hooks, I'll show you what this looks like. So here, Astra Hooks is installed. Let's go over to the customizer, appearance, customize. And now you're going to notice a new section show up inside of the customizer called hooks. Now what this is going to do is allow you to inject code into, let's say, the header. I can just paste in my Google tracking code right here, or maybe I want it to go in the footer so that it loads last. I could do that as well. Now this code is going to show up on every single page of your website. So if you don't want that, if you only want it to show up on certain pages, that might be a good reason to upgrade to Astra Pro, which has a custom layout option that lets you do this on a page-by-page basis. So the last plugin that is essential in my mind outside of security and backup, which we'll cover in another lesson, is image optimization. So we've already spent a lot of money on getting good business class hosting. We've got our own VPS, and we got a nice fast theme in Astra, and maybe even upgraded to Astra Pro to tweak it further. But then we go and upload a full resolution 15 megabyte image and it just brings our site to a crawl because, well, that's just a large file and it's going to take a while to download. So how can we avoid having those types of mistakes happen? Well, there's some really good plugins out there to optimize your images. And the one that I'm going to recommend in this video is Short Pixel. Let's go ahead and get this set up. I'm going to go over to plugins, add new, and I'll search for Short Pixel. Here it is, the Short Pixel image optimizer. I'm going to go ahead and install this. So to start using Short Pixel, you're going to need what's called an API key. Don't worry if you don't have one. Just enter in your email address right here and hit request key. They're going to send you in a code. You just paste in right down here and then hit validate. And you don't have to pay anything. You'll be able to process up to 100 images a month totally for free. What happens when you cross that 100 images? Well, you're going to have to sign up for one of their paid plans, and their pricing is really, really reasonable. I've got it pulled up over here. So here's the free plan, 100 images a month. If you want to go up to $5 a month, you're going to get up to 5,000 images a month. That's going to be enough for most people. And then, of course, they have larger plans as well. So what does Short Pixel do for you? Well, let me demonstrate quickly here. I'm going to go ahead and paste in the API key, hit validate. All right, now that my API key is validated, I'm going to be able to go ahead and start to compress the images on my website. Now, what it's going to do is make the images load a lot faster without compromising the look of the images themselves. You can see I have kind of a 3-tiered option here. I can do a lossy, glossy, or lossless image. So lossy is going to be the hardest compression. It's going to make the files the smallest they can be, whereas lossless will keep the files a little bit larger, but it'll maintain absolutely the highest quality of photo. It does have the handy option to run a few tests before you decide, but you know what? I've done this enough that I know lossy is pretty good. So let me go ahead and just hit save and go to bulk process. Now I don't have very many images on this website. You can see I have 17 original images, but WordPress has gone ahead and actually created smaller versions of those images called thumbnails. And there are 57 of those already. So if I leave this box checked here to include thumbnails, it's going to start optimizing images. And what was 17 images images is going to become 74 images. And well, I'm okay with that for now. Just know if you're on that free plan, that's going to eat up almost all of your credits almost instantaneously, and that can be a little bit frustrating or off-putting. So the way around that, of course, would be to not include the thumbnails and then regenerate the thumbnails later after you've already compressed the original images. Why don't we go ahead and do that? So I'm only going to optimize the 17 original images, and I'll just let this run. Now, it's important to note that you have to actually leave this window open. You can't close it. It's not running in the background. So as soon as I close this, my work is going to need to be resumed later. All right, we're at 76% here. This is almost done compressing the site. Now it's up to 82%. I'll just mention that after I do this initial, what they call bulk image optimization, ShortPixel will just notice anytime you upload another image to your website, and it'll automatically go in and compress it for you. It doesn't remove that original file unless you tell it in the settings you want to. So this is a really nice way to kind of set it and forget it and just make sure that your website always loads fast without having any accidents of really large photos getting uploaded. Trust me, it happens far more than you'd think. All right, it says, congratulations, my media library has been successfully optimized. And you can see that the average optimization was 69.74%, and I've actually saved 5 megabytes of space. So that is really great. That's a pretty huge reduction to reduce the file size by almost 70%. You can imagine if you had a very large website and you're doing hundreds or even thousands of photos, this is going to be an absolute ginormous space saver, and that's going to just translate to a faster website and a better user experience for people who come to your website. But we still have the issue of 57 thumbnails have not been optimized. So how do we regenerate those thumbnails? Well, of course, there is a plugin for that. Let's go ahead and check this out. This is the beauty of the WordPress ecosystem, by the way. Really, any feature you can think of, you can go ahead and look to see if there's a plugin that already exists for it. Often you'll be surprised at what you find. There might be one and it might be extremely popular. However, keep your eyes out. You don't want to install too many plugins that are from unknown developers or only have a few users. I really try to look for premium plugins that are from well-known developers that I know are keeping their products up to date. That's going to make sure my website stays secure. All right, I just typed in regenerate here, and we've got regenerate thumbnails advanced from ShortPixel themselves. So they're aware this might be something that you want to do. So let's go ahead and activate this. We'll go under the settings, and we have a regenerate period here. I can say, only regenerate the thumbnails from the last month or so, but I'm just going to regenerate them all. And there we go. Very quickly, it's going to regenerate all of those plugins based on the optimized versions, the ones I've just compressed. I ended up saving myself about 57 credits there that I would have used from my free ShortPixel plan. Now, last thing is I don't need this thumbnail plugin anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and deactivate it and delete it. There's no reason to keep plugins installed on your website, even if they are from good developers, if you're not using them. Being a secure WordPress website owner means that you're keeping things tidy and not leaving a lot of loose ends laying around. All right, so those were some of my favorite WordPress plugins, the ones I use on every single website. Now, I'm sure there are others out there that are essential to you, and let me know what they are. Leave me a comment down below. There is also some more advanced plugins that I use frequently on a lot of sites, but they just weren't quite right for this beginner style video. I'll be making another video about the more advanced plugins that I tend to gravitate towards as well. Now, if you're staying tuned for the rest of this course, we're going to be talking about the media library inside of WordPress next. So I'll see you in the next lesson. Welcome back to WordPress Made Easy. I'm your instructor, Dave Swift, and in this video, we're going to be looking at the WordPress Media Library. But before we get into that, I just want to remind you that this is a video in a series called WordPress Made Easy. If you're jumping in at this point, make sure you go back and check out the rest of the course. It's completely free. There are no strings attached. I just ask that you hit the subscription button to the channel down below, click that notification bell so you get notified when new videos go live. All right, over to WordPress. Here is the WordPress Media Library. Now, what is this and what does it do for us? Well, it's basically the access to all of the photos and audio files or documents you might be uploading to WordPress. In fact, you can even upload video files to the WordPress Media Library. I don't necessarily recommend doing that unless you have a CDN to actually spit out the video files. That gets a little bit more advanced. But for most people, this is going to be where their images are primarily, or maybe an ebook, a PDF, something you're delivering to visitors to your website. So it's really important to understand how it works and what it does and doesn't do. And that's what this video is going to take care of. care of. So you can find the WordPress media library by just clicking on this media button over here in the left-hand sidebar. We're in this setting right here where it says library, but if I wanted to add a new item, I could choose this option right here, or of course there is a button inside of the main library screen. You might not see this bulk short pixel option available unless you've got the short pixel plugin installed, which we covered in a previous video. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and just add a new library item here. Add new. Now I've got a nice big drop zone. I can literally just grab any old file off of my computer that's a media file and drop it in, and it starts to upload. You can grab more than one item at once if you like. I'll try uploading these 4 images. There we go. You can see they're uploading just one at a time. All right, great. I've just uploaded 5 images to my WordPress website. Now there is one issue that a lot of people run into if you're uploading, say, a podcast file, or maybe even a really, really large image that hasn't been compressed, or maybe even a video if you decide to go that route, in that there is a maximum upload size of WordPress. In my case, it's set to 10 megabytes. But did you know you can actually change that? Now, there are many ways to do this. You can go into the code and actually change some settings, but more often than not, you can just ask your host to do it for you, or if you're using Cloudways, which we've been using throughout this course, there is a setting for it. So just go ahead and get logged into your Cloudways account, go under Settings and Packages inside of your administrator panel, and then the second option down says upload size. Right now it's set to 10 megabytes, the same as we saw inside of WordPress. So let's up the ante here a little bit. I'll choose 256 megabytes. You could really set it to be whatever you want. 256 is pretty big. We'll hit Save Changes here. Great, my changes have been saved. If we go back over to the WordPress media library, let's keep our eyes right here. I'm going to reload the page. And now we can upload up to 256 megabytes. All right, we've already solved a potential problem with the WordPress media library. Let's dig in a little bit deeper and see what we can do. I'm gonna go over to the library setting right here. Now I can view my images in 2 ways. Right now I'm in what's called list mode, but I could also switch over to grid mode, which is gonna give me a nice little preview of each image. I do believe this is the default setting when you load up WordPress, so yours might have looked like this from the beginning. Now let's say I went over to this image right here. So here is a kind of lower half of a skeleton. There's some highlighted areas around the hips. And if I look at the title, it's called hip pain. So they're trying to highlight that this might be an image for someone who's suffering from hip pain. There's a caption down below. Now, if I chose to display this image on my website, often I have the ability to include a caption. That would be set right over here inside of the attachment details of this image. Then down below, I can add a description if I like, but most importantly, up here at the top, there's something called alternative text, and this is also referred to as alt text. This will be the text that show up if the image is not rendered by the browser. There might be several reasons that the image doesn't get rendered by the browser, but most often it's either Google themselves kind of learning what's on the page, or someone has a disability and they're not displaying the images so that they can actually have a screen reader tell them what is on the page. So both are good reasons that you want to make sure you have your alt text filled in. It'll help you SEO wise, and it'll be a better experience for people visiting your site that are maybe visually impaired. I can also see who uploaded the image and what page it was originally uploaded to. This was on the About Us page. There's also something called the copy link, where if I wanted to share this image on social media, or maybe just link to it directly in an email or something like that, I can just select this text, double click on it, hit Command or Control C, and then copy or paste it wherever I intend it to go. There are a few more options down here. I can view the attachment page, and this is really just going to open up the image in the page where it was uploaded. And you can see we've applied some effects here inside of Elementor. Let's head back to the page right here. Then we can also edit more details or even delete the image permanently. Now I don't want to do this, but let's go ahead and click on Edit More Details and see what's available to us. All right, so here is the image, and it looks much bigger here because it's not scaled down. I can see the actual size of the image. I can also edit the alternative text in the caption here like we've already talked about. There's also a field for the description, but most importantly, there's this option right here that says Edit Image. When I click that, now I can do all sorts of crazy things, like I can resize the image. Let's say I wanted to make this much smaller. It's quite large right now. I'll scale it down to, let's say, 1500 pixels, which is still quite large. I'll click this button and it'll automatically be rescaled. And it's important to note that when you're scaling an image, you want to enter either the height or the width, but not both, because WordPress will be smart and keep the aspect ratio of your image intact. So if I entered in, let's say, 1000 right over here, you can see that it's automatically filling in the other dimension to keep the image proportional and nothing gets stretched out and funny looking. If I wanted to restore the original image, I can click right down here and just press this button to restore the image. that will undo any of the changes that I've already made. Over here, I can actually crop the image. So you can see if I click this, I get some little handlebars. So let's say I wanted to really isolate a section of the image, maybe right here. We'll go ahead and make this a little bit more of a square. All right, great. Now that is all set. Now you might notice over here where it says image crop, this has actually been adjusting as I move these handles around. So you can actually type this in if you wanted to get really pixel perfect. But I think most people are going to prefer to just kind of use the handles and drag them around. I can choose whether I want these changes to apply to all of the image sizes, so including any thumbnails that have been generated, just the thumbnails, or all sizes excluding thumbnails. So you've got quite a few options here. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it at the default setting. All right, now I've got my crop how I want it. Now in order to actually confirm this crop, what I'm going to need to do is click on this button right up here. All right, there we go. Now the crop has actually taken place. I could also do some other little tricks here, like rotating the image left, rotate it back right, maybe flip it vertically or flip it horizontally. Now flipping horizontally, we can't really tell much difference on this particular image, but there are quite a few different variables here. Up at the top, we can also edit the permalink or the slug for the image. So right now it's /hitPane. I think that's just fine. I won't edit it right now. Now remember, if you ever get in too far and you think, boy, I wish I could go back to the beginning, you can click over here to restore the original image, and I'm going to do that right now. Gives me a warning to confirm, and there we go. We've got our original image back, and you can see it's no longer 1500 pixels wide. So that's all of the functionality inside of the WordPress Media Library's image editor, but I do highly recommend that you get everything right and crop just how you like it before you end up uploading to WordPress. I think you're just going to end up with a lot smoother result. Now, there are some settings for the media library we should talk about. Let's go down to settings right here and choose media. Right here, we're going to have some image sizes for thumbnails. So by default, it's going to create these different versions of the image when you upload one. So when you upload an image to WordPress, it's automatically going to resize each file into different sizes. You can have a original and then a small, medium, and large version of your file. By default, it's going to create them 150 by 150, 300 by 300, and 1024 by 1024. Now, right now for the thumbnail size, it's going to crop the thumbnail to this exact set of pixels. So it's going to be a square image. For the other two, the medium size and the large size, it's simply going to make the largest dimension constrained by one of these two variables. So it will maintain the aspect ratio and it won't crop your image. You won't end up with squares. So just a little clarity there on how the uploading works. And the last option on the page says uploading files. Now, what this is really talking about is the organization structure of your folders inside of the WordPress backend. Now, we haven't really gone into the file structure of WordPress. In fact, that kind of goes outside of the point of this class. We want to not get into the technicalities of it, but what you should know is that when you upload an image to WordPress, by default, it's going to put it inside of a folder based on the year and the month that it was uploaded. So let's say we're living in the future and it's January of 2024. When you upload a file to WordPress, it will create a new folder called January inside of the year 2024. And then when January finishes and you upload a file in February, another folder will be created. This time it'll be inside of the 2024 folder, and then there'll be a February folder alongside of the January folder. I hope that all makes sense. Now, there are other ways you can actually organize your WordPress files, and we're going to look at that right now. So here is a new plugin called Happy Files, and as it says here, this organizes your WordPress media library like a pro. Now, there is a free and premium version of Happy Files. I'll just be using the free version inside of this video, but I'll link to it down below. Again, that'll be our referral link. We might earn a small commission if you click on our link. So here's the difference between the free version and the pro version. On the free version, you're going to be restricted to just 10 different media categories, whereas on the pro version, you're going to get unlimited categories. All of these other boxes are exactly the same. Of course, you're going to get better support when you actually pay for the plugin. Who knew? People need to get paid for their work. All right, let's go over to WordPress and install this plugin. I'm going to go under plugins and hit add new, and let's type in Happy Files. Now, important, you don't add a space here. All right, here we go. So as I mentioned, this is a new plugin. It's only got 300 active installations as of the time of this recording. Let's go ahead and install this, and we'll hit activate. Now that it's activated, let's head back over to our WordPress media library. All right, so now things look a little bit different. Over here on the left, I have categories. I can create a new category. I'll call this one icons. Now I can just grab the images on my site that are icons and drag them over to the folder. Then if I wanted to quickly find all of the icons on my site, of course, I could just click here and I'm only going to see those files. So you can see this would be a handy way to keep things organized on the back end of WordPress, especially if you're uploading a lot of different types types of files. Maybe you have podcast episodes that are going up alongside a lot of photography. It's just easier to keep things all segmented. Next, I want to talk about a plugin that supplements your WordPress media library, and that's called Pexels Free Stock Photos. Let's go ahead and install this, and I'll activate it. And now when I go over to the media library, I'm going to click on that icon. I'm going to notice there's a new icon down here called Pexels Photos. When I click on this, I've got a nice little search box where I can go ahead and just search for stock photography on Pexels, which is a free stock photography repository, add them directly to my WordPress website without having to ever leave my own webpage. Let's go ahead and search for WordPress. And there we go. I've got 5 different images about WordPress. Actually, 3 of these just look like pictures of random models, so I'm not sure what that's all about. But let's go ahead and add this to my WordPress site. There we go. Now that image shows up in my WordPress media library. So that's a really handy way to download images directly onto your WordPress site. There's no reason to download them onto your computer and then re-upload them to your WordPress site. Now, next, I'm going to show you a tool. This one is not free, but it's one of my favorite ways to edit images, and it makes formatting images for things like featured images really, really simple. This tool is called Stencil, and once again, I'll link to that down below, and that'll be a referral link. Now, in Stencil, I can actually create WordPress images. So right here is where I choose the canvas size. I'm going to go under Design, and let's choose Blog Post Featured Image. That's what we need inside of WordPress. Now, much like I just showed you in Pexels, I can actually search stock photography right here. Let's search for WordPress. That's funny, we actually get the very same images that we saw in the Pexels plugin, but we're not just searching Pexels here. There's other free stock photography libraries that is searching, so they're showing up. Let me go ahead and grab this image. I've got some text on the screen, which I can actually click and edit. All right, let's change the color here. We'll resize this, and let's choose a different font. Maybe I'll give the background image a tint. There we go. That's the vintage styling. You can see it added a little bit of a vignette. I'm going to add a border color here to make this a little bit easier to read. All right, great. So that image is looking pretty good. I could use it as a featured image on my blog. Now, the only thing is I'd have to actually download this and then re-upload it to WordPress. Well, there's actually a plugin, just like there was a Pexels plugin for Stencil. Let me show you how that works. We'll go under Plugins and hit Add New, and I'll search for Stencil. Here it is. I'm just going to hit Install Now and then Activate. So the plugin itself is completely free, but you do need a Stencil account that you can connect to it. Now, the next time I'm editing a page and maybe I decide that I want to add a photo in, I would go ahead and choose my photo inside of WordPress, and then I'm going to choose the media library right here. Now, you're going to notice a new tab at the top called Stencil. What this is going to do is actually just open up your Stencil account, and there is that image that I created in Stencil. In fact, I could go ahead and tweak it a little bit more. Maybe I'll move this up to the top here or put it right in the center. Now, there's a button over here that says Add to Media Library, and you notice it doesn't actually say this when I'm logged in regularly. It's only when I'm logged in through my WordPress site do I get this Add to Media Library option. I'll go ahead and click this, and it's just going to import it right into my WordPress media library. I'd be able to use this image as my blog featured image. Before it completes the upload, it does ask for a file name, and I can choose between 2 different dimensions. It does give you a recommendation of choosing the larger version. Remember that WordPress will automatically scale things down. All right, now I'm not adding this as an actual featured image. I'm adding it into the post, and there it is. If I wanted it to be the featured image, I would just choose featured image from the right-hand sidebar here and select that image. Now, once again, I do have the option to go into Stencil right here. I could create an all new image. If I wanted to start from scratch, I could definitely do that. But since I've already imported the image, I can choose it right here, and we'll set this as our featured image. There we go. We're all set. I'll hit update, and we can see it at the top of our page. So the keys to success with the WordPress media library are to prepare ahead of time. Get your images at the right dimensions to display on your website before you upload. But if you do need to do a little bit of repair work, there are some tools built in that you hopefully understand how to use a little bit easier. Now, you might want to look at adding something like Pexels or even Stencil if you can spring for it, because they do make adding images to WordPress sites very quickly. Now, this is important if you're doing a lot of blogging and you definitely want to have a featured image for every single blog post. Well, you don't necessarily have to contact a designer. You can just go into Stencil and create a featured image, and you're all set to go. All right, so hopefully this video has been helpful to you and you now understand more of the features of the WordPress media library. I'll see you in the next lesson. Welcome back to WordPress Made Easy. In this video, we're talking about categories and tags. Now, I know this is not the most exciting topic in this entire course, which, by the way, if you haven't seen the rest of the course, make sure you go back to the beginning. I promise you'll learn something if you watch all the way through. But categories and tags are important enough to your site's success that we have to talk about them. So let's get back into the back end of WordPress. Here is the post section in the left-hand sidebar. You can see that this site has 2 posts. We created them in earlier videos. We've got my first post and some useful links to get you started, which is kind of the default WordPress post. And over here, if I go a couple columns over, I'm going to see categories and tags. Now, I have not categorized these posts, which is generally bad practice because Google likes to understand what your site is about. And when you categorize things, it makes it easier for it to parse. It also is a nice usability feature for actual users of your site so they can find other related posts. So you can think of categories as the broad topic of your post. If I were reviewing movies, maybe I would create a category for each genre of movie that I was reviewing, and that would be how I organized my posts. Now, right over here, we have tags. Now, tags are very different than categories because remember, categories were broad. In our example, we used movie genres. Well, tags might be the actors who are starring in the movies or the topic of the movie. It could be a sports movie or a World War II movie. You get the idea. You could include directors in there as well. It's very common to have 2, 3, 4, 5 tags inside of a single post, whereas for categories of posts, we usually want to restrict that to 1. So how do you set up categories and tags? Well, it's actually very easy. Over here in the left-hand sidebar, underneath posts, we have categories and we have tags. Let's start off looking at adding a category. Let's name our new category news. So the idea here would be if I'm running a business and I want to post some news about my business, I could put it under the category news. Make sense? We'll give it a slug. We're actually going to talk more about this later on, but that would basically be the URL-friendly version of the name so that if you type that in with a slash after your domain name, you'd be able to see all posts in that category. Then I can choose the parent category, so which basically means I could have subcategories under a main category. An example would be, let's say I'm blogging about heavy metal music. Well, heavy metal might be the main category, but then underneath that I could have industrial metal, death metal, progressive metal, you get the idea. Down here, we can add a description. I've never actually entered a description for any of my categories. It says that the description is not prominent by default, but some themes may show it. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and add a new category here. And there we go. I've got my category added. Let's go back to the posts and start to categorize them. Now, of course, I can set the category under the edit screen. If I click right here, over on the right-hand sidebar, I see categories show up here, and I can just uncheck uncategorized and choose news, and then update. But there's another even faster way to change the category if that's all you want to do. We can go under quick edit. Here is the category section. I can choose news and hit update. All right, so we set our categories and it really wasn't that complex. And you know what? Creating tags really isn't any harder. However, I'm gonna show you a different approach here. Now, of course, we could go under tags and just add them in like we did our categories, but that's not very likely to happen. If you're blogging and you're hurrying to publish a post, you're probably not gonna think, well, let me go to a different screen and enter some tags and then go back to my post and then tag my post. Well, the folks at WordPress were smart enough to think about how people are gonna end up using this software, and you can actually create a tag from right inside of the post. So let's try doing that. Let's go ahead and edit my first post here. And here's the category selection. Right below that is tags. I can add a new tag right here. Add Tim Ferriss, WordPress, and blog. Great, so I've got my 3 tags added right here. All I have to do is update, and now my tags are saved. Notice that I could add a category right from the edit post screen as well. Although after you've been blogging for a certain period of time, you're probably not going to end up adding too many categories to your blog. Remember, they're supposed to be kind of broad topics. So if you have dozens and dozens of categories, you might be using them a little bit wrong. They might be better as tags. Now wait, don't go. There's still one more important lesson to learn about categories and tags, in that when you create categories and tags, WordPress makes dozens of pages about them. So each post is going to have its own category page, and you end up with all of these redundant pages inside of WordPress. And then Google goes and crawls them, and it thinks your website is full of all of these junk pages that never get any traffic. We want to only show Google our best pages that get the most traffic, so they think our site is very busy. How do we fix this? Well, don't worry. You can use the free SEO Press plugin. We installed it over in the plugins video. If you haven't seen that, go check that lesson out. But for now, I'm just going to head down to the SEO Press plugin. I'm going to go under titles and meta, and then choose taxonomies right over here. Now there's a few options you probably want to check right here. I can turn off the SEO metadata for this taxonomy. I can do it for the tags as well. But most importantly, what I want to do is check this box that says, do not display this taxonomy archive in search engine results. And then I'll go down and do the same thing for tags. I do recommend doing this for both categories and tags. You don't get a bunch of redundant or low value results inside of Google. So that's it. Nice, simple, easy lesson. Now I hope you understand tags and categories. If you have any questions, leave me a comment down below. If you haven't already, make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss any more videos in this series. I'll see you in the next lesson. Welcome back to WordPress Made Easy. I'm Dave Swift, your instructor. If you're new around here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to click the notification bell to get notified when new videos go live. Now, in this video, we're talking about users inside of WordPress. This is going to be kind of a confusing topic. And honestly, most of the time that I see it brought up is when someone's using something like WooCommerce for e-commerce, or maybe an online course platform like LearnDash or Tutor LMS. And they're wondering, well, how do people sign up for one of my courses, or how do people buy my products? Well, the answer is WordPress users. Anytime someone is doing anything on your WordPress website, they're going to be added as a user. Now, don't worry, there are different permission levels so that not everybody can do the same things. Someone who's shopping on your store obviously can't also post to your blog, but you certainly can as an administrator of your website. In fact, there are many different user levels. So if you wanted to have people on your website that only were able to post and really do nothing else, you could create that ability. All right, enough talk. Let's get over into WordPress and let me show you what I'm talking about. Over here in the left-hand sidebar, we've got this section that says users. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. Now, because I'm the only user on this site right now, there's only one account, but I could easily add a new one. And in fact, anytime someone signs up through your website to even leave a comment, you'll find their username show up over here in this window. Let's click add new. Anytime you create a new user, you're going to have to add a username and email address. They can even be the same thing if you'd like. First name, last name, and website are all optional. Now, when someone signs up through something like LearnDash or WooCommerce, often WordPress will send them an email telling them to create a password. If you want to create an account for someone, like maybe you're getting support for one of your premium plugins and you want to create an account so that the developers can log in and give you some troubleshooting ability, you'd probably want to go through this process, create a new user, and then you'll click right here where it says show password, and you can actually just take the generated password they give you and give that to the development company so that they can have an account to log in and do whatever adjustment they need. That way, you don't actually have to enter their real email address. You can just create kind of a throwaway account for them. But most of the time, when people are signing up, they're not even going to see this screen. We're just kind of going through it for the sake of learning what to do. There's the option to send the user a notification about their account, and usually I'll leave that checked. And now here's where the heart of the matter is, roles. This is the most important part to understand. Now, by default, WordPress has 5 different roles available. Subscribers are going to be people who are just subscribed to your website. Basically, they can leave comments and really not much else. And the next level up from that is going to be a contributor. Now, what a contributor can do is they can write their own articles, but they can't publish them without approval from someone higher up on the food chain. An author, on the other hand, they can write their own articles and they can publish them, but they can't do anything about anyone else's articles. So if a contributor asks an author to help them get their article published on the site, they just wouldn't have the permission to do it. The next level up from that is an editor. Now, just like the name sounds, an editor can approve posts. They can approve anybody's post, they can edit their posts, and of course, they can even create their own posts. It's very much kind of like a newspaper, right? We've got different levels of management. At the very top, we have the administration, and that's what your account is going to be when you create a brand new WordPress website. An administrator can do anything on the site. They can change the preferences, create new user accounts. They can even change people's passwords. So administrator accounts should be given out very, very conservatively. They'll have the ability to destroy your entire website if they don't know what they're doing, or maybe if they're malicious. Most of the time when you're getting support for a premium theme or a plugin, you will have to give the developer administrator access. If this is a plugin you paid for from a well-known and recommended plugin or theme, you don't really have to worry about this. They don't care about wrecking your website. They care more about their reputation, so they would never do anything to intentionally harm your site. So I do recommend giving administrator access in those circumstances where you've paid for support and they're just trying to help you out. Now, WordPress is not limited to these 5 user roles. In fact, there are several plugins out there that will add user roles without even asking you permission. WooCommerce WordPress will add customers and shop managers. LearnDash adds group leaders. And there's even plugins to create your own user roles with your own set of permissions, like User Role Editor. So that's probably all you need to know about user roles. Now, I did mention early in this video that subscribers would have the ability to comment, but did you know that out of the box, there's really nothing restricting anybody from leaving comments on your website? Now, if you've got a good plugin installed to limit comment spam like Anti-Spamby, that can really cut things down, but you still might want to consider limiting comments to people who are logged in. To do that, just go over to your settings and go down to discussion. Here, you're gonna find all of the settings for comments. And one of the first options under other comment settings is that users must be registered and logged in to comment. I usually leave this turned on just because I wanna have one extra hurdle to get someone to leave a comment. And besides, this way I can capture their email address if I need to follow up with them. So that's gonna do it for user roles inside of WordPress. If you have any comments or questions, leave me a message down below or head over to our Facebook group and chat over there. We'll start a thread dedicated to this entire course. I'll see you in the next lesson. In this lesson, we're going to be talking about how to keep your WordPress website secure. Now, you should put an asterisk next to that because security is really something that we're always striving for, but will never actually achieve. The problem is that security has human flaws involved. Now, trust me, I've gotten angry emails from people who've said, you got to get off of WordPress. WordPress is insecure and it'll never be secure. You need to move your websites to ClickFunnels or Wix or Squarespace or whatever the platform that they believe is perfect is. And the real truth is, I mean, look at the biggest banks in the world or the biggest movie studios in the world. They've all had security compromises. And typically it doesn't come down to software. It comes down to human error. So first things first, we got to get the human elements right here. And that's namely talking about user accounts and passwords. Just follow good hygiene. Use a separate user account for everybody on your website. Don't let employees share logins. You want to be able to track who's doing what. And the only way you can do that is if people have their own user accounts. You'll also want to make sure people are not using the same passwords across multiple sites. Passwords should be generated uniquely for every website that you log into, and they can be secured in a password manager so that you don't have to memorize a crazy long string of characters that you need to have to keep your website secure from brute force attacks. That's where hackers essentially try to guess your password until they eventually get locked out. The longer and more secure your password is, the harder it is for them to guess and the longer it will take. Eventually, if you have a secure password, it just takes so long, it wouldn't be worth the trouble. Of course, your host plays a huge component in how secure your website as well. If you're paying $2.99 for hosting, chances are your website is going to be about as secure as a $2.99 lock. Pay for premium hosting. When you pay for premium hosting, your host should be taking care of some security elements to make sure that brute force attacks or DDoS attacks are not happening regularly to your website. So that's all stuff that can be done for you just by spending a little bit more money per month. And I'm not talking about hundreds of dollars. I'm saying use one of the platforms that I've recommended in the hosting video earlier on in this course. And let's say your website does get compromised, even though you have followed all of these good hygiene practices. Well, that is where a good backup plan is crucial. Now, typically your host is going to be taking daily or weekly backups of your site. That is available inside of Cloudways, but you also want your own copies of your website stored somewhere else away from your host so that if someone gets into your hosting account, they can also delete your backups. So how does all this work? Let me show you how backups work. And then later on in this video, we'll look at some more security tools for WordPress. If you've been following along with this course and you've got a Cloudways hosting account, just log into your server and then click down here where it says backups. By default, Cloudways is taking a backup every single day. You can see that it happens here once per day, and the last backup happened on 4/4. Cloudways is going to hang on to 1 week's worth of backups, so that'll be 7 different instances. And if you want to have an extra copy of your site, you can turn on local backups, which will actually copy your site to your own server so that if something goes wrong, you can easily restore to the local backup. If you're worried about updating something on your website, you can take a backup right from the Cloudways administration panel. So this is a really good first layer of your backup strategy, and hopefully you never need anything more than this, but you should still put some other measures in place. Updraft is the most popular free backup plugin for WordPress. Over in the WordPress repository, let's go ahead and search for Updraft. Here's the plugin. Let's go ahead and install it. You can see there's 2 million active installations. and we'll hit activate. Now there is a paid version of Updraft you can upgrade to that adds some additional features, but really if you're just getting going with your very first website and you want to have some way to back things up, Updraft can cover that for you. Upon installation, it gives me a little walkthrough. It says click here to start, and then it tells me to make my first backup. I can choose if I want to copy the database or the files of my website. I'm just going to leave both of these checked, and I recommend you doing the same. Now I can create my first backup by just clicking this button, but I'm not going to do that because I'm not actually told Updraft where I want to back up to. So it's just going to create a local backup for me. And that's nice if something happens to my site locally that doesn't compromise the backup. But really what I want to worry about is what happens if my server becomes corrupted or taken over. Can I easily get my site going on another server if I have to? So I'm not actually going to set this up. I want to have some off-site backup. Let's close out of this tour, and I'll close this window. Then we'll go over to the settings tab right here. And here are all of the different choices we have for the location for our off-site backup. Updrafts Plus has their own vault storage, but you're probably already familiar with something like Dropbox, Amazon S3, Google Drive, and you'll want to go with something you might already have an account on. I'm going to go ahead and back up with Dropbox because it's one of the easiest integrations to get going. I'll just scroll down to the bottom and hit Save Changes. Now, after I've done that, I have to actually authenticate with my Dropbox account. Here is the link to click. Now, make sure you do this or you won't get the backup saved. I've signed in with Dropbox. I'll allow them access, and let's hit Complete Setup. Now to go ahead and back up to Dropbox, I'll just hit Backup Now. Again, I'll leave the defaults selected, and Updraft is backing up to my Dropbox folder. All right, there we go. My backup was completed. That was really quick. Now back over in the settings tab here, I'd probably want to set up a regular schedule for these backups to run. I can do a backup of the files or the database and set a schedule for as little as every 2 hours. And over here, I can choose how many backups I want to have retained. Now there is a reason not to run your backup too often, and that would be because it's going to create a bit of stress on your server. Every time the backup is running, it's really CPU intensive, and that means that the server won't be able to display sites to your actual users quite as easily. When we get to the point that we're a little bit more serious about our WordPress website, our business is doing well, we'll probably want to invest in a tool that does something called incremental backups. And actually Updraft does this. If we go over to premium extensions right here, you can see the little pricing table that once we get to the paid version, we get incremental backups. I'll definitely link to that down below so you can check it out, see what the pricing looks like. That'll be our referral link. So if you buy, it'll kick us back a little bit of money. A few other nice features that come with the premium version of Updraft is this pre-updates backup. What this means is anytime you go to update any components of WordPress, which we'll cover a little bit later in this video, Updraft is going to automatically back up your website to make sure that if anything goes wrong, you'll always have the most recent working version available to quickly restore. And the other feature I like is the ability to clone or migrate a site. So if you're moving files from one domain to the other, you get that included with the premium version of Updraft. So for people just getting started with WordPress, I do recommend Updraft is a really good solution. Once you hit that point where you need incremental backups, their premium solution is really good as well. Personally, at my agency, we use another tool called WP Time Capsule. It works really well for agencies and businesses managing large numbers of websites. It's a little bit more expensive, so that's why I'm recommending Updraft Plus in this video. Next, let's talk about updates. One of the primary reasons that WordPress websites get hacked is not that WordPress is vulnerable, it's that people have added on software in the form of plugins, and that plugin has a vulnerability. Once hackers find out about it, they can scan for any websites using that plugin, and then they attack. It really makes your website a target if you don't keep it updated regularly. Now, we've got a few different options here for how we can keep our website updated. Let's go ahead and check out the manual way to update our website by just clicking on the little arrows up here in the upper left-hand corner. Now, here I can see I have some components that are out of date. First of all, WordPress core itself can be updated to version 5.4. Down below, I can see what plugins might be out of date, and then below that are any themes that might be out of date. These are all the kind of stock WordPress themes I didn't delete, and then Astra also has an update. Now, you might think, great, I'll just make it a part of my daily routine. I'll wake up, I'll update all of my WordPress stuff, and I'll never have to worry about that again. If only it were that easy. Now, the problem is sometimes WordPress updates include new features, but those features can also cause vulnerabilities. Other patches are just vulnerability fixes, and those are the ones that we really want to get right away. The updates that just add new features, while those can be fun and cool and exciting to play with new toys, those are usually where you'll find the vulnerabilities because they haven't been stress tested enough and not enough people have beat away at them to find any security openings. So my general rule of thumb is to definitely update when a security vulnerability is there. Do that as quickly as possible. But when it's a new feature, give it a few days or even a week or two to make sure that no one else discovers a vulnerability. You don't want to be the one that suffers the consequence of being an early adopter in this case. So how can we tell if a plugin is full of new features or it's a vulnerability fix? Well, thankfully, there are usually some notes included with each plugin update. Right here, it says view version 4.17.0 details. The version number is also a clue. Typically, this first number is a major new release. So if it were to be version 5.0, I probably wouldn't want to adopt that right away. The next increment is usually going to be a feature update. And then after that is going to be a point release. So that's going to be more of those security fixes. Because this is a 0.0, I can almost be certain that this is going to be full of new features and not a security update. But definitely read the notes to be sure. Let's go ahead and open this up. And here I can see all of the changes that are included with this update. Now it looks like the main thing is a complete rewrite of part of the plugin. So that's definitely new features. And I don't want to be the first to adopt brand new features. I would definitely recommend reading through all of these fixes to see if it's solving any ongoing problems you might be having with a plugin. But look for the words security and vulnerability. And if you see those, that's when you want to instantly click the update button. Now, when you just have one plugin that needs to be updated, this doesn't seem like that big of a task. But what happens when you get 30 plugins on your website and 12 of them have updates available? It gets to be a little bit more tedious to go through every single one and decide whether you want to update or wait a little bit longer to see if there's any security issues. Well, thankfully, there are tools out there now that will actually look for vulnerable plugins on your website and automatically update them. One of the security plugins that I recommend is called WebARX, and they have a brand new feature that does exactly this. So here is the WebARX website. You can go ahead and check out their pricing here. This is not going to be a free plugin. You'll have to pay monthly for it. So this is $15 a month. And this is something I'd recommend after, again, your business is already profitable, your website is earning you money, and $15 a month doesn't seem like very much because you're already making hundreds or thousands of dollars per day from your website. So $15 a month is going to give you really good security. Here's what it includes. This is a web application firewall, or a WAF. Basically, that means it's a firewall that's going to prevent malicious actors from getting to your website. Then there's also another component, which is virtual patching and malware prevention. This is a plugin that lives inside of your WordPress site, and it's just going to monitor to see if anyone gets in and tries to change anything. If anything gets changed, they'll notify you that there's been a security breach. One of my favorite features of WebARX is something they've just released, which is the ability to auto-update vulnerable plugins. Now, what this means is they will keep an index of any plugins with known security vulnerabilities. As soon as a patch is available, it will automatically run an update on your website so that basically your website will never have any holes from unpatched plugins. This is really huge, and it would cut down a massive amount of security breaches that have happened in the past. So WebARX is great at preventing you from getting hacked, but what if you've already had a security issue? Someone's gotten into your website and injected some malicious code. It's not behaving as you expect, and you presume that your site has been hacked. What do you do? Well, there are several plugins out there that will scan your website for breaches and try to patch them if they can. Typically, if they can't, they offer some kind of human intervention where you can actually hire them to come in and fix up your website. Let me show you one of my favorites. Let's head over to Plugins, Add New, and let's search for WordFence. All right, here we go. WordFence Security, Firewall, and Malware Scan. That's what we want. You can see this has 3 million plus active installations. It's probably the most popular WordPress security plugin out there. If you don't want to spring for WebARX, I think WordFence is a great free solution. Now, they do have, obviously, a paid plan as well. All right, so here they want me to enter my email address. And if I would like to join their mailing list, I can opt into that. I'm going to leave it off for now, and I will check that box to agree to their terms. Now, if I have premium, I can enter in my premium key here right now, but I'm just gonna hit no thanks. So now over here in the left-hand sidebar, we see WordFence. And if I go down to the third option, it is Scan. It kind of guides me through the process here. I'll press next, next. All right, so what we really wanna do is click right here where it says Start New Scan. It's gonna go through the scan and tell me if I've had any compromises. You can see the first three options are premium only. That is spam-vertising checks, spam check, and a blacklist check. So if those are important to you, you can unlock them by buying their premium plan. So it's completed the scan here. You can see that it did the server state, file changes, a malware scan, a content safety scan, public file scan, password strength scan, a vulnerability scan, and a user and option audit. Now I do have two issues that showed up here, both under file changes and vulnerability scan. So let's see what this is all about. So the first thing it found is that the WordPress core file has been modified, the upgrade page particularly, and this is a high priority issue. So if I want to get some more details on this, I can click the little magnifying glass here, and it says that the core file has been modified and it differs from the original file distributed with this version of WordPress. Now that could be a very bad thing. Someone could have gotten into the core files of my WordPress website and made it look like there's an update for some software when there's really not. They're just trying to take over control of my platform. So let's go ahead and view the differences of the files here. Here I can see the original version of the file to the modified version of the file. Now, if this stuff doesn't make sense to you, this is definitely where you'd want to call in an expert and say, hey, is this anything to worry about? I'll tell you right here, it's not anything to worry about. Basically, this is a comment. So this line of the code has been commented out. And I suspect this happened when I installed the WP SMTP mail plugin so that it kind of overrode the basic WordPress settings. So this one I'm not too terribly concerned about. My options here are either to repair and bring it back to the original state, or I can just ignore it. And you know what? That's what I'm going to do here. Now, the next high priority issue is that my WordPress core is actually out of date. So that's easy enough. I can just head over to the update section and go ahead and apply the update. So I'm going to ignore that for now. The other vulnerabilities it found is that my other plugins are out of date. So these aren't real issues. They're nothing to be worried about, but you can see if there was an actual issue, it did kind of catch something that was a little bit alarming, and we can dig in a little bit deeper and decide whether we need to panic or not. If you do get overwhelmed, you can always click one of these buttons at the bottom. If you want to have them clean your hacked site, you can click right over here, and that'll show you their cleaning services, which are $179 currently. So it turns out that having a secure WordPress website is very similar to just having a good, secure home computer. You're going to want to do the same things in both places. Use good passwords that you don't reuse on multiple websites. Have backups and multiple backups that you keep in different locations, so not all of your eggs are in one basket. And update your system. When there are security patches, make sure they are applied in a time-efficient manner. If you follow those three things, you're really not going to run into too many problems. But when you do, of course, there are security services out there that can bail you out when you need. I do recommend WebARX and WordFence, as we covered in this video. So that's going to do it for this video on security and backups. If you have any questions, of course, leave them in the comments down below. We'll also link to the Facebook group in the description, so you can head over there and join the WordPress conversation. That's going to do it for this video, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Well, this is the last video in the WordPress Made Easy course. And even though it's the end of the course, it's really just the beginning of your WordPress journey. Now, I know that sounds a little bit cheesy, but if you've been following along with this course from the very beginning, we went through how to set up hosting, how to get your WordPress installation set up, get logged in, how to use page builders, the difference between pages and posts. You've learned so much already, but there's still so much to do with WordPress. I'm already in the process of creating more advanced trainings for Elementor, for WP Fusion, for LearnDash, and WooCommerce. But if there's anything else you want to know about, I would like to be the person to help you along. So definitely leave me a message down below or reach out to me on the Facebook group. And I hope you've enjoyed this course and you have a bright future ahead of you with whatever business you choose to start with WordPress as the foundation. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next review.